What's up, and welcome to my live benchmarks video with the Alienware X17. We've got this sucker right here in front of me. We've got a whole bunch of games installed. I think all the games are installed. If not, if a game's not installed, we'll just skip that benchmark for today, probably, depending on how long it takes to install. I think Valorant's the only one not installed, but I wait to install that and run that last, typically. Now, you can see the list of games and benchmarks we'll be doing here in the bottom left corner of the live stream. And let me go ahead and get the live stream set to public so that everyone can start hopping into this. And I'm really excited about this. See the performance of the X17. I think a lot of people are very curious, especially people who are gaming enthusiasts. They're interested in buying the most powerful laptop possible. So we'll have to see how well this thing does, especially compared to the more expensive laptops out there. So let me go ahead and pull the live stream up on my phone as well. Just make sure everything is looking good. And then we'll get started into the benchmarks. I'm going to start with the benchmarks in the rough order that you see. So we're going to start with some time spy and some synthetic tests. Cinebench and Time Spy, Port Royale, Fire Strike. Then we're going to get into Warzone, Apex Legends, Fortnite, Watch Dogs Legion, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Far Cry 5, CSGO, Flight Simulator, Rainbow Six Siege, Witcher 3, Red Dead 2, Cyberpunk 2077, and then lastly, Valorant. What's up, Britt? I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just tired. And I don't want my voice to run out. Like I keep like killing my voice with these live streams. So I'm trying to like tone my voice down a little bit, talk a little softer. And I might need to take like breaks in between. I don't know. I don't know what the best way to prevent my voice from going out is, but I'm trying. Trying my best. Prevent my voice from going out is, but I'm trying. You got another X17? No, this is the same one from last stream. The last one was just a live unboxing, and this one's going to be actual detailed performance analysis. But it looks like everything's looking good. Notice the display is just so freaking bright that it blows my camera out unless I tone it down manually. This is a very, very bright display. Is this the 4K display? Yes, this is the 4K 120 hertz. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's just make sure that we're all in the right power profiles. We're on the latest drivers. We did check that already. I don't think GeForce Experience is still working. It's still not working, I don't think. But let's just pop in there and see if we can disable the overlay. But do a quick optimization checks here. Game mode is already off. Yeah, GeForce Experience is technically not running right now, so there's no overlay there. And then I believe there's no antivirus pre-installed on this machine. So I think we're good there. Cool, cool. And I've already pre-installed all the games. As far as I know, everything is set up. We're on the latest Windows drivers. We're on the latest firmware, the latest Alienware Command Center. So we should be all like fully up to date as far as I know. Am I going to do a review of the X15? I did order an X15. I'll be doing at least some live streams with it. I did not do the DDU, no. I think we're okay to move forward. The driver seems to be working just fine. Isn't there a Mux built in the software somewhere? So Muxes can't be built in with software. It has to be a hardware thing. Some people in the last live stream were saying that Alienware had included the hardware side of it, just disabled it with software. And I don't know if that is true or not. As far as I know, that is not the case. but I'm probably going to reach out to Alienware and ask about that, simply because right now it's a rumor kind of running rampant, and I want to make sure that people know what they're getting, you know. But as far as I know, there is not one. So, uh, Saraba says, I'm literally dying waiting for the 6600M laptops. It'll be a shame if I have to get something I don't want because 6600M laptops just didn't drop. There is currently a 6600M laptop you can get. It's, I believe, HP Omen or something like that. I have it on the spreadsheet. So yeah, it's if you want to check that out. That's the only one that I know of right now that's out, but I haven't looked very thoroughly. So, oh, this has been running in the background, so we're just gonna restart that. Do you think Razer will release a 15 or 17-inch Ryzen version? I think it's likely, but we'll see. They did release a 14-inch version, and that seems to be doing really well. A lot of positive reviews of that, so I would not be surprised at all if we saw a Razer Blade 15 or Razer Blade 7 Pro 17. What's up, Alan? Do you think the X17 will be better than the GE76 at the same spec level as the X17? Um, I think it'll be very similar, with the primary performance difference being the increased CPU TDP in the Alienware X17, whereas we have the MUX in the GE76. So it's like a trade-off. Um, Paul says, "Hey, how are you guys? I'm doing well." Tyke says, "One guy got 9K CPU out of the box, and after using the external monitor, it went up to 11K." Yeah, an external monitor is likely going to boost the performance quite a bit, and I might actually grab an external monitor and do a test, just because of how interesting it would be. Is there something you guys would want to see? See the external monitor versus regular? Dell told me there's not a Mux and no Optimus on the 160 hertz and 4K screens of X17. Does that mean no performance hit? So Bobby smiles. There's definitely a performance hit, and there is Optimus. It uses GPU switching, and we're going through the integrated GPU. Taiki wants an external monitor. Thanks for the super chat. $4 of the super chat. Appreciate the support. So this is all stock settings, no overclocks at all. During the live unboxing, we got a 12,000 exactly for the GPU score, which is the primary thing that I test with here. Any bets on Flight Simulator? And yes, please do an external. All right, let me grab an external monitor real quick. All right, so we'll do an external monitor for the Time Spy test, as well as Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Those are two very good tests to compare. How did we do? Let's see. And we'll run it one more time. 12,067 this time. All right, a little bit better than last time, but not much of a difference. Oh, I did also overclock it in the last live stream, and I think we got around 12,350 or something like that. One of the laptops turned on that was asleep and is playing a video or something. I have no clue what it is. Hold on. Okay. That was pretty interesting. Okay, so for our first run, 12,067. Very good. Let's go ahead and do a second run, and then we'll be able to average these together. This is the primary score I care about that I'll use on my benchmarks, but I'll also throw this onto an external monitor and test that. I'm at a bypass gizmo. Would you recommend the ZenBook Pro Duo OLED or the Scar 15? I do some light gaming and it's not a crater. I'm not sure about the specs of the ZenBook Pro Duo. So I guess I'd have to see the specs on that. I'm not sure. But the Scar 15 is certainly an excellent gaming laptop if you plan on doing gaming very often. It's, I think, be really worth it. Probably, I really like my Scar 15 still. There has been very, very minimal problems with it. So please try flashing with a 165 watt VBIOS and an external monitor. I'm not going to do that, or Glove. Certainly not in this live stream. I may do that in a different live stream, but no guarantees at all. Depends on if I see like a good viable VBIOS, and I don't know. We'll see. But I am going to do 165 watt VBIOS on the XMG Neo 15. I've actually already flashed it and updated it, but ran into some hiccups with their software. So dealing with their support, basically getting it set up correctly so I can do the test. ZenBook Pro Duo is i7 10th Gen RTX 3070. Gotcha. Yeah, that'd be an interesting comparison. I guess it depends on the price versus performance of what you're trying to go for, and it sounds like they both would fit your needs. I guess just probably look at your other specs that you care about. You know, like the display quality and keyboard, mouse, trackpad size, thinness, stuff like that, to help you decide between the ZenBook Pro Duo and the Scar 15. M15R5 versus Legion 7. I think my preference would be the Legion 7 between those two, but it would depend on the specs and the price that you're getting everything for as well. Because I think the R5 would be a bit cheaper, maybe a little more cost efficient, but that's going to depend. I have saved $5,000 and I'm going in circles. I have an Alienware 17-inch, 1080, 144, 1440p, 120 hertz, and I'm torn between going 4K 120 and hoping the GPU can manage, or dropping to 1080p and getting 360 hertz help. So Dragon Cave, I personally, like if I end up deciding to keep this Alienware X17, I'm going to play primarily at 1440p, even though it's a 4K display. And it's, from my experience so far, it runs and will look extremely clear, like it's native 1440p. And you still get the benefit of the really high brightness and color gamut. So it's just the downside is that it's not like 165 hertz or 240 hertz. So it's not going to be quite as good for competitive gaming. 2148 for a G17 5900HX and 3070. Is it worth it? That seems a bit overpriced because the retail price is only $17.99. So that's $348 over retail price, or about $350 over retail. So I wouldn't recommend it. I'd say try to get it for the retail price. Okay, wow, exactly the same graphics score, 1267. And then we got 9739. So 9739. Let me go ahead and pull up our CPU score. 9739 plus 9601 divided by 2, 9670. Okay. Cool. So we're going to do time spy, and we'll just mark this as external monitor. Okay. All right. Now go ahead and switch the view over to this one. So it's not as jarring as I'm moving everything around. Well, I guess I can just leave the laptop right here and just turn the camera over to the external monitor. All right. Just gonna plug in the HDMI. Detected the display. Let's go into the display settings. We're going to do show only on external 2. I believe is the idea that we're going to go for. I probably have to change the source of the monitor here because it's not showing up yet. I'll just set the displays to extend here for this until I get this figured out. Yeah, it was set to the display port, so let's see if I can get it. There we go. All right, let me turn the camera over. Huzzah. All right, so let's just turn this some more and turn it down towards the camera. Raise this up just a little bit. All right, and then we got our external monitor. It's blurry a little bit. Voila. Okay, so we're going to only show the display on the external monitor to prevent any kind of performance bottleneck on that side. And this is not, I can tell already, it's not the full. I can tell already this is not the full refresh rate. And we can also double check just to make sure. Oh, there it is. Just go ahead and set this to, it's set to 120. This monitor should be capable, I think, of 240, I believe. But see if I can get the NVIDIA control panel to open up. All right, let's see. Yeah, so this is directly connected to the NVIDIA GPU, so we're not going through the integrated GPU, as you can see. So I think we are all good to go. All right. Let's go ahead and give this a run. Does having your laptop screen on alongside the external monitor lower performance compared to a single external monitor. Evan, it might just by a tiny bit, which is, and it'll depend. But typically, it shouldn't have hardly any overhead, but maybe just a tiny bit. So that's why I'm doing just the external monitor. Okay, so Carlos says, "Hey man, would the Razer Blade Advanced 3070 be a good fit for rendering and above work? Would you recommend another laptop with metal type quality? An error has occurred. Interesting. Maybe we need to restart TimeSpy or 3D Mark. Um, so Razer Blade Advanced is going to be a decently powerful laptop to play casual games on, and sure, for basic productivity work, that'll be great. If you're going to do a ton of rendering and you want the highest performance so that you reduce how long it takes to render stuff, then I think you'd want to ideally go for a higher TDP system, a higher power limit system, basically, because that's going to help boost your performance. Let me try restarting this. And by boost performance, I mean, the more power you put through the GPU, you're going to get just more performance out of the machine. So, like this Alienware X17 can go to up to 165 watts versus the Razer Blade Pro 17, I believe, goes up to 105 watts, I believe. I think it's a 90 to 105 watt range. So, that's just a pretty significant gain in performance, comparatively speaking. Brit's recommending a reboot. Yeah, we might do a reboot. We'll see. But I think restarting the application will fix it, probably. Because I think when you start the application, it collects your system info, and when you switch to an external monitor, maybe it's just like, hey, conflicting system info. How does all Lenovo Legion and MSI gaming laptops come with hybrid mode option? I believe they do. Hybrid mode option meaning Optimus, so you can switch between battery life. Most of them are going to have a mux switch. So, hey, that looks better. It's actually loading in this time. Cool, cool, cool. See if I can get this to reframe just a little better while we're. Huh? Eh? Huh? Yeah. All right. Very nice. We don't have our MSI Afterburner info popping up, but not that big of a deal. Sergio says, I saw G15 and G17 as 11 price to performance. Seems like the G15 has less score with GPU. Not sure if that's an error while mentioning in the docs. So Sergio, it just depends. The Strix G15 and G17 both, I think, are 11 on price performance. At least they were. I think they're probably more like a 10 now, but they're still very good. So basically, far above like golden standard level of performance. And I still think they're exceptionally good price to performance. For $17.99, you're just talking about such a great bang for the buck on like a 5900HX and an RTX 3070. Um, and it's really it's more than just those components. It's also the display you get with it, the keyboard, the trackpad, the build quality, the cool RGB lights, all of the whole package. It's what it's all about. Okay, so there we're seeing our overlay again. Not sure why I didn't load on the first section, but I didn't do anything different. MSI after service sales is too bad. Yeah, I've heard some good stories and bad stories from MSI's after service. It's definitely an area where I think MSI could improve. What is this Alienware laptop made out of? A lot of different things, but you're talking about the main deck and material. It's like this coating. It's like the Alienware coating they've been using on their um, I don't know what they call it, but it's kind of like a plastic rubbery, very durable finish, I think. And this year they used black on the interior, which I kind of like because that way you don't have to worry about any discoloration from like body oil, like finger oil coming off your hands and wrist, discoloring the wrist rests at all, which was a concern, especially for the first generation. The second generation of or like the initial M15 and M17 laptops that came out had the same coating as the Area 51M, and my Area 51M did have some minor discoloration after a couple years use. Sarah BH says, "Hey mate, please try the Omen 16 with the 6600M. There's literally nothing on the internet about it." Um, that's true. Not very much info is out about it yet, but you can order it. Um, I'm just very busy right now. So, okay, so here's our score: 12,534, 10,508. So, with an external monitor, that's a pretty noticeable improvement, right? I'm actually curious. Well, we got this going. Um, well, we got this going on the external monitor. Let's also do a quick overclock just to see what we get with an OC as well. I'm very, very curious. Um, we're gonna try for 150, 300. It's a more aggressive overclock than last time. Will likely be 150 is a pretty challenging overclock, but we do have a higher wattage. We do have a higher wattage RTX 3080 here, so maybe it'll be all right. Let's find out. Okay, so 125534, 10,508. Also, let's just verify. I'm not sure if we still have an undervolt applied or not. But I think anyone that's getting this system are going to typically be on the more advanced side. So I think an undervolt is something that the vast majority of users will be doing on this system. So I'm going to go ahead and test with a 0.8 undervolt or 0.08 undervolt. This is interesting. Why is this set to 75 now? Our cap was set to 75. So I'm just going to raise that back up to 127. Because that was during the initial testing, that was like, I think 135. That was very high initially. Okay, and all of these are set to the defaults. So we're not overclocking the CPU at all, just undervolting and raising the power limit a little bit. All right. Let's give this another shot. You do 125 core and 800? Yeah, I would not be surprised if this failed. 150 is a bit aggressive on the overclock. So let's find out. Carlos says, heading out, mate, but I truly appreciate you taking the time to keep us informales and entertained. Cool. Well, have a good one. Guillermo says, I was thinking in the X17 i7 3070 Full HD, 165 hertz, 16 gigs, 3200 RAM versus M17 R4, 3070 i7, 32 gigs. Which one do you think is better? I think their performance is going to be very similar. Um, the main thing, Guillermo, if I was going to get the 3070 and get a 1080p model, I would probably try to just spend a little more money and get that 360 hertz advanced Optimus version, because I think that would be worth it, depending on how much of a price difference it is. But that way, you know you're getting the maximum possible performance from the machine, and you're not going to be bottlenecked at all by NVIDIA Optimus. Is the premium for the X17 worth it compared to other similar specs on the other brands, considering the cooling system and build, fit, and finish compared to others? So James, looks like, well, Looks like we just crashed. So the overclock was a bit high. Let's try dropping this down. We'll go 125. Okay, so James, my take on the X17 so far, before doing all these benchmarks, is that it's got very good CPU performance, um, but you have the no mux on this system that I have here. So it's like really good CPU performance for the pure CPU productivity things, such as, like say, Handbrake or rendering Adobe Premiere, stuff like that. It's going to be really, really great performance. And then when we get to gaming performance, where we're pairing the CPU and GPU together, I think it's going to be good performance, but not as good of performance as it could be if it had a Mux switch or Advanced Optimus. So, but but here's the thing: it'll still be great enough performance to hit the 120 hertz refresh rate of the internal display that it's on this machine. So that's kind of where I'm like, yeah, it's going to be very rare where a Mux switch or Advanced Optimus would really benefit you very much. But there will be certain instances, say for example in Warzone, I think that's a game where you would see an improvement because you're likely to get less than 120 FPS regularly in that game. But we'll see. Maybe we'll be hitting that 120 FPS mark pretty often. Hamdi Ben says, "How much does this beast go for?" This laptop cost me about 3,800, I believe. I think it was a little bit over 4,000 with tax and shipping and everything, but I also did like overnight shipping. So, what software do you use to see the FPS in the game? MSI Afterburner. Okay, looks like that successfully ran through the first test. Crazy DJ says, Giz, would you recommend the Asus ROG Strix G17 or MSI GE76? Both with RTX 3070. The Mux problem with the Asus kind of makes me hesitant. So the GE76 is going to cost you a heck of a lot more than a Strix G17. Like you could get an RTX 3080, I believe, um, for the same price. Because I think if they made a 3080 version of the Strix G17 and sold it, it'd probably be about the same price. Because I think a GE76 costs about 2,300. So instead, I would say take a look at the GP76 RTX 3070. I think that one costs around 2,100 or 2,200. So um, that one is your more in line with your the GE with the Strix G17 in terms of price to performance. It's like the Strix G17 is like the more budget-friendly version of the Scar 17, and then you have the GP76 being the more budget-friendly version of the GE76. So you're kind of comparing apples to oranges, like you're not really comparing the same um, category of, like you're comparing the premium version of the MSI versus the medium premium, like mid-tier of the Asus. Which laptop has got the highest score among all your testings? Um, well, Infinite X AJ, I haven't completed all the tests yet on this one. I'm very curious to see how this one does. Um, I believe the GE76 that I tested with Intel 10th Gen has a Mux. I think that one got around 12,600, so slightly higher than this one. But I mean, that's within margin of error. It's like 100 points difference. So if you kept running this one, you probably eventually get a score similar. Let's see what we got with the overclock. 13,091. Interestingly enough, our CPU score went down a little bit, but 13,091 with the OC. So let's add another line here. We broke the 13,000 mark. So that's the highest score that I've ever had in a test like this. So kudos to the X17, though I did not overclock the GE76, I don't think. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison. And this is with a 125 300 OC. Okay, cool. Very nice. That's a really good score. Exceptionally good score, as a matter of fact. Um, okay, let's go ahead and run some of the other tests. Let's go ahead and set everything back to stock. And oh, wait. While we have this open, let's do Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. We can only do 1080p, and that's actually where we're going to see the biggest performance difference because this is a 1080p monitor. Britt, is that what you're getting? You're getting 13,000 on yours? Does the OLED display have good refresh rates? Are 4K displays worth buying? So OLED displays typically only have 60 hertz refresh rates unless it's highly specialized OLEDs, like on phones or uh, set everything to the highest. Okay. Um, so for example, on like a phone, there might be a 120 hertz OLED display. But on laptops, OLED displays are currently all 60 hertz, except for a couple that I think are bumping up to 90 hertz. But um, yeah, and some TVs maybe are 120. But I think the key thing here is to when you're talking about gaming displays, OLEDs generally speaking have good refresh rates, but um, bad hertz. So like, and by refresh rate, I mean, sorry, let me say that. They have 60 hertz with a fast response time, but the 60 hertz does make everything look a lot more choppy. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry. Okay, so we're on highest settings. DirectX 12 RTX is disabled. I believe this is all good. This AMD Fidelity FX, we have not. That's a new thing that I'm noticing in Cyberpunk and in this game, and I'm curious how that's going to affect the performance. But let's go ahead and just give this a run. Have I tried undervolting the GPU with Afterburner? Danny, I have not. Also, I just realized I may have, I think I forgot to turn the overclock off. Let's go disable the overclock. Okay. So we are stock clocks once again. Let's go ahead and restart this because I had to alt tab. Yeah, I'm getting some stuttering on this external monitor for some reason. I don't know why. It's also, this is a 240 hertz monitor. Maybe some driver needs to be, I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, this thing should be, I don't think it's going to affect our benchmarking. So, because it'll go above a 120. It's like already benchmarking up to 140 up here. 137, 140, 160. Dang, the FPS in this is like pretty crazy right now. Pretty high for that area of the game. It's interesting that the Afterburner FPS that's being read here is different than the FPS the game is showing up here. This is usually identical or very, very close, but they're different for right now. Is Dell the only place to buy this? There's also a Best Buy version that has an RTX 3070 and the 360 hertz advanced Optimus display, so that's another option to consider. Would the GE76 11th gen be faster than the X17, especially in overclocking? So the main difference between the GE76 and this machine is going to be that the GE76 has a MUX switch. But the GE76 also has a lot less heat pipes to the CPU, so you're not going to be able to push the CPU as hard. So I think those are the two main differences. Like this one should have better CPU performance, while the GE76 might have slightly better game performance for the on-screen display or on the on-display when you're playing on the laptop display, it should have slightly better CPU-bound game performance, especially. Is the Sega Clevo X170 the best desktop replacement? Tech Guy 365, you should ask that to Britt Allen. I believe Britt Allen bought that laptop. Britt Allen, what do you think of the Clevo? And in terms of the Clevo, my thoughts on it are it's going to likely be the best CPU performance that you can buy right now, aside from the Area 51M. Now look at that. 190 FPS there. 170, 190, 180, 160, 150. So yeah, the Clevo is just going to be a lot larger, and the CPU performance will only be a little bit better than this one. So, I mean, it should be noticeably better, but not like massively. I don't know. Bert, what are you getting in Cinebench? I'm curious. Curious if I'm wrong or not. Okay, now we're only getting 90. Interesting. 90, 105, 106. Yeah, we are getting significantly bottlenecked for some reason somewhere. Only 60% GPU utilization. Could be related to the memory that we have in here. I mean, the CPU is not being thermal throttled right now. We're not getting power limit throttled. Our clock speed is 4.6, 4.7, nice healthy clock speed. It's probably memory that's slowing down some of the FPS there in the end of that test. But let's see what we got for an average. 92 FPS average. Interesting. That is very low. Something is definitely going on. And I feel like it's related to this stuttering we're getting, and also the fact that the Afterburner was reporting a different score than. Whoa, okay, so this is. I'm not even able to see the. I'm not even able to set the display resolution or orientation right now. Yeah, I don't think this display is being set up properly. I don't know, it's weird. Let me try using a DisplayPort cable. Yeah, no, there's definitely something going on, and I don't think it's related to the laptop. I think it's related to my display not being set up correctly. So I would say don't discredit the laptop necessarily from that result right there, at least. Okay, let's see if we can get this figured out. I'm not going to spend too long troubleshooting this, but I'm guessing that this is just related to the display not being read properly or something along those lines. Okay, looks like it's not reading. Hey, all right. So notice that the moment I switch to only the external display, I no longer have my display resolution or orientation here available, which they should be available. So, and in addition, I should be able to set this to 240 hertz. Okay, I can set this one to 240 hertz now. Okay, so maybe that's a good sign that we're getting 240 hertz on the display output. Let's try loading it again and seeing what we got going on here. We could get an Alienware X17 i7 11th gen and RTX 3080 for around 2.7K. Looks like a great deal. Nathan, that seems like a reasonable deal if you got the money. Going to sleep now. Going to My fiance just messaged me. Good night, baby. Kissy emoji face. Mwah. Okay, you guys got the 411 on that. Okay. Let's try this again. See if this works for us. I normally would definitely expect higher performance with an external monitor, not less. So, Gizmo, would the CPU performance be significantly lower on the MSI GE76 compared to the X17 due to the heat pipelines? I think for CPU specific things like rendering videos, that's where you're going to notice the performance difference, especially. I think for pure gaming performance, it's going to be pretty similar because you're not going to very often push super high TDP on the CPU and GPU. Maybe only in games like Battlefield 5 would you push the CPU TDP to the max. The nice thing about the GE76 is that the heat pipes are dedicated directly to the CPU. But there's just two heat pipes, like one large and one small one. So there's just not very many heat pipes on the GE76. You got 15K points in Cinebench R23. Will there be any laptop that can overclock the i9 and go higher? I don't think so. So once again, look at the disparity between the two benchmarks here. 95 on MSI Afterburner and 130 something, 150 something up here in this. So I don't think the benchmark is being read properly right now on this external monitor. I could try switching to another external monitor. It's really weird. Cable's tangled up for days over here. Okay, one second. Okay, here we are with a another QHD. So this is a QHD 240 hertz monitor. And we'll try showing only on the second display. All right. Have to back the camera up just a little bit. It's a very big monitor. This is the desktop monitor I actually currently use. Restart the machine. That's not a bad idea. Let's go ahead and restart the machine while we're at it. It'll only take a few seconds. How would the i9 and the X17 perform in the X15? 1 to 2K less points. It'd probably be a lot less points than that in Nassim, because it comes down to what TDP the laptop can run the CPU at. Which one would be the best to choose? The SCAR Strix 173080 Full HD or the GE76 QHD i9-11980HK? I would go, if it was my money, I'd go GE76 with the QHD display, I think, in between those two, just because I really like the QHD displays, especially for a 17-inch laptop display. All right. Not that much difference between the 11980HK and the 11800H. I think there's a pretty substantial difference as long as the TDP of the laptop allows the 11980HK to really stretch its legs, to really boost the clocks, like in the X17. The X17 with this i9 11980HK is much faster on the CPU performance than the GP76 is. So the GP66 I tested with the 11800H is much slower. It's like Cinebench score only got like 4750 or something like that, I believe. And then when I undervolted it, I got over 5000. So, and this one, I got 5400 without an undervolt and 5800 with an undervolt. So it was a pretty big jump in performance, in my opinion, but maybe not necessarily worth the price. Like there's a big price difference, a huge price difference. So, Gizmo, I read somewhere that the GE76 3080 ran up to 165 watts. Have you come across this info? No, it goes up to 155 watts. It's 150 to 155 watts. So, not quite that high. Okay, so we are at 1920 by 1080, so we're at 1080p resolution. We're going to go up to 240 hertz on the refresh rate. Okay, and also notice that we are having very smooth menus this time. Last time we were not having smooth menus here, which is um, likely the cause likely showing us that the display seems to be working better on the external display. But we'll see. What's up, Chris? In gaming though, would that be a good performance jump? So Jack Black, it just depends on the game, but we don't know how much a performance jump it would be. Okay, so now notice right here our performance with the MSI Afterburner FPS reading and our reading up here. They're the same now, so that's showing us that we're probably going to get a proper reading of the performance right now of the X17. Oh, the newest GE76 can reach 165 watts? Okay, well, the older one can go only to 155. I've not heard that it can go to 165. If it can, that's great. I'd love to see verification of that, though, because I just haven't seen any verification of that. Okay, so I think that should be a lot better performance there. Now, keep in mind, right? One thing we can do here is we can test. We can basically do a quick test and see what kind of performance loss we're getting with NVIDIA Optimus in the mix here, because I'm very curious if we're going to lose a ton of FPS utilizing the 1080p resolution with an external display versus the internal display. And like, this is some great FPS, 150. Let me do a quick check. I believe the GE66 was the highest I've ever tested in this game. And yeah, so GP66 and the GE76, 131 FPS is my previous highest benchmark. And I think this laptop is going to blow that out of the freaking water by a lot. Like, dang. We were pushing over 200 FPS there. I wonder how low this is going to go. This is where I think we become very potentially memory bottlenecked here. Notice the GPU percentage utilization is dropping from like 99% down to like 85 now. I wonder how low that's going to go. Also notice that our temperatures here are getting pretty hot. So let's just look to see if we end up getting thermal throttled here, getting all the way to 100 degrees. This can go, we're not thermal throttling yet. Notice there's 99. So if we get to 100, then we'll thermal throttle, but 95, 96, that's, and the reason why we're getting that high of temperature is that we have shared heat pipes. So whenever the GPU heats up, the CPU is also going to heat up. Our GPU utilization is still pretty good, above 90%, and our FPS is still pretty good at over 120. Dang. Okay, that was pretty good. I think that's going to be a new record. 137. Yeah, that's a new record. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that it might even be able to get higher than that. Also, I want to check. I'm pretty sure it could get higher than that, maybe with even faster RAM, but maybe not. It's hard to know until we do more tests. But that is obviously a really good score. So that's 6 FPS higher than I have had in any laptop before. Now, we did not have an undervolt during that either. So no undervolt, though I want to do my test with a minus 0.08 undervolt. And interestingly enough, our long power limit is now 165. Okay. So let's try. Let's try running this one more time now that we've applied the undervolt. and see what we get. Um, and then we can try it at QHD resolution, and then we'll try the internal laptop display and see how much of a performance difference. Please test Warzone on max settings too. I usually do all lowest settings in Warzone. Hi Gizmo, need a gaming laptop with the best battery life? Recommendations? Um, so Bill, I'd probably say get something with either Advanced Optimus, um, if you want the best blend of CPU, if you need CPU bound game performance, or at least make sure that it has a mux switch to either a mux switch or regular Optimus. You just need Optimus of some kind so that you can switch to integrated graphics. Um, that said, the battery life on the Zephyrus G14 and G15 is both excellent. The Scar 15, the Strix series, pretty good. But if you're looking for portability and battery life, especially if you want like good performance while on battery life, the Zephyrus G14 and G15 both do really well when on um, they both do really well when on battery. Like a lot of laptops tank their CPU performance when on a battery, but those two laptops do really well even when utilizing battery life. Tomb Raider really gains more FPS with better CPU. Yeah, better CPU and better memory. Both of those affect Shadow of the Tomb Raider game performance for sure. Now keep in mind, this is a 1080p resolution that we're testing this at, and I don't think very many people, well, I'll take that back. If you're getting the 1080p display, then yeah, you'll be looking at the 1080p performance. But people who buy the 4K display, I don't think they'll be downsampling all the way down to 1080p. For sure, they'll be running it at either QHD or 4K. And I don't have a 4K external monitor to test with, unless I use my TV. That's the only 4K monitor I have here. Do you think the Zephyrus M16 i7 and 3060 is worth buying? So Cadet, I would say that is not worth buying from the perspective of a price to performance basis. Um, but it has a number of improvements over the Ryzen version. The Ryzen version, for example, doesn't have a webcam. Um, and but neither of them have a mux switch. And for the price at 1850, I feel like there might be better options out there. That you can get like a 3070 laptop with a good TDP for the price. That said, the display on that laptop is fantastic. You get a webcam. And you're definitely paying for some extra features on that thing compared to some other laptops. So depends on if you value those features that you're paying extra for. Okay, so we got 137 two times in a row. Confirmation. Um, confirmation. Okay, so Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Let's go ahead and duplicate the Shadow of the Tomb Raider. We're going to do uh, uh, I'm not sure how to abbreviate this. STR, external monitor. Okay. So full HD was 137. So that sets a new record for laptops that I've tested, at least. Very cool. And that is, I guess, a good indicator that the XMP memory is at least running fast in this machine. Now, we are going to set this to QHD. Is that QHD? I can't. I believe that is. Okay, cool. Let's apply those changes. And then we're going to see what we get with QHD with an external monitor. And then we can switch to the internal monitor, test 1080p and QHD, and we'll see the difference with NVIDIA Optimus. Gunter Sprand says, "What about the fan noise? Did you make some tests already? Is this max fans? The i9s run hot. Yes, this is max fans. And yes, this definitely runs hot. It's a spicy. So this should be a more GPU bound. We should see above 95% GPU utilization more often now that we're at QHD resolution. So this is a situation when you're at like a really high GPU utilization, you're much less likely to be see a huge difference in performance with say a memory upgrade or with NVIDIA Optimus bottlenecking, simply because the CPU is just not being as taxed as much, so it doesn't become as much of a bottleneck. I have not done very many tests with this QHD resolution, but I can look up my benchmark list here. I did do this game with my Scar 15, so let me try to pull up my results. So we have an RTX 3080 to compare with. Um, it's the Scar 15 RTX 3080 with a 5900HX. So there it is. Okay. And I did do this with an external monitor as well, I believe. Let me see. Okay. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we got 92 FPS with the internal monitor and 100 FPS with the external. That's with the Scar 15. So that'll give us a good idea of the performance difference, at least with that laptop. Make a gaming laptop list with the Mux switch. Guap, I actually did. Um, there's a link to it in the video description down below. It at least all the most of the laptops I've got marked on there where it has a Optimus, a Mux switch, or Advanced Optimus. So you can kind of look through that list and see them. Somebody please send Gizmo a 4K monitor. That's funny. Gizmo, what do you think is better, the X17 3080 1080p 165 external monitor versus X17 3070 1080p 360 hertz? I would get the 360 hertz internal monitor, at least if you want to game on the internal monitor regularly. Okay, so let's see what we get. 108 FPS. So that is a noticeable improvement over the Scar 15. So an 8 FPS gain. Okay. And now it's time to do the internal monitor. All right. So we can unplug the external monitor and turn it over to look at this. Have you done Fortnite yet? No. You'll see on my list of benchmarks there which ones I've done, because when I do them, I fill out I fill out the benchmark basically each time I get it done. All right. Here we go. And for this test, I think I'm going to do 1080p, QHD, and 4K, just to give us an idea of all three resolution levels. Will this come to India? India idea? Arc Nemesis, I have no idea. I don't know. I imagine if India usually gets most laptops, then you should. You should get it, I would think. Okay. Monitor refresh rate is 120. Graphics, everything is still set to exactly how it should be, I believe. Let's find out. We get, but it's very late. Yeah, I don't. In that case, then I would expect it to come eventually. How much is this? I bought this for 3,800 approximately. So you can see we're getting 107 FPS right now. I don't know what we were getting last time, so we'll have to see. It might be interesting to do a side-by-side comparison. Might be good for doing that. Um, so 'cause I'll have all the footage from this live stream, so I could use this in the review, showcasing the performance difference with NVIDIA Optimus on versus an external monitor. Will it be a problem if the CPU temps are constantly above 90 degrees Celsius? Joylon, no, I don't think it is. The only downside is as the CPU pace gets worse over time, though it should take a while for that to happen. Eventually, you'll be more likely to thermal throttle eventually, which will then, once you start thermal throttling all the time, that's when you'll notice the performance dip. But yeah, 90 degrees Celsius is fine and normal considered by Intel. Intel says that that's perfectly fine and ordinary. I mean, that said, look at our temperatures, at least right now, 71, 66. So, but the CPU TDP is very low right now. So it just depends on what game you're playing, what area of the game you're in, how, if the CPU is pulling above 50, 60, 70 watts, then you're likely to see very high temperatures. I picked up my Scar 17 360 hertz for 3,000 for 5900HX 3080. Nice. Congrats, Ziggy. I really like my Scar 15 still, but I'm always on the prowl for the best possible laptop. Good luck finding the device you want. They're all scarce still. Yeah, a lot of scarcity still, for sure. Wow, it's so bright. At least on my screen. Like I'm looking through the internal the monitor here. What do you expect of the X15? The X15, I expect decent performance for its thickness, but it's not going to match the performance of the X17. The X17 has much higher thermal limits, power limits. So, why do desktops run much cooler? Because they can stick giant, huge, beefy fans and heat sinks onto them. Like if you look at a desktop, there's like usually like 6 fans on the pulling air in and out of the system, and then there's fans on each of the components that get hot. It's just whooshing there everywhere. Okay, so a difference of 8 FPS at QHD resolution, so only an 8% performance difference there. Not massive, but it is still there. So 100 FPS. All right. And let's drop this resolution down to 1080p, and this will give us our performance difference at 1080, which is going to be a bigger difference, or at least it should be a bigger difference. Though I wonder if we're still going to average above 120 FPS. Because if we're averaging above the screen refresh rate, that's still pretty dang good. So RTX series, NVIDIA rates them to not go above 87 degrees Celsius. So yeah, 87 is kind of the cap, if you will. That's where most NVIDIA GPUs are set to throttle, like 86, 87. Anybody got the new Asus Advantage Edition for sale? I'll buy it. Chris, I'll eventually be selling mine that I'm reviewing. If you're actually really serious about buying it, we could figure something out. But I'd usually try to sell it for like $50 less than retail. So Zephyrus G15 or X15. So Zephyrus G15 will be like way cheaper. You can get an RTX 3080 version for cheaper than the 3070 version of the X15. Is the Legion 5 Pro 3070 version enough for QHD gaming with an external monitor? Yeah. Though in some games you might have to turn the settings down just a little bit, but the vast majority of games will run at highest settings, still run really well. So right here you can see we were getting over 200 FPS during this scene, and now we're only getting 160 something. So definitely less FPS than before. And notice the GPU utilization is only 85% here. So that's definitely less because we were hitting over 90% GPU utilization with an external monitor. So we're definitely running into some CPU bottlenecking because of NVIDIA Optimus. How's the build quality between the X17 and the Zephyrus G15? Um, they're in a similar ballpark of build quality, both very top tier, but not the very, very best. I would say an all metal build is the very, very best. Something like the Razer Blade series or like the Legion 7 are just slightly better. Over time, will high temps degrade or kill the CPU? Um, I don't believe it's going to kill it. Ultimately, over many years, it definitely will eventually, right? After many years. How many years is hard to say. Probably would run at close to 100 degrees regularly for probably 5 to 10 years before likely being failing, I would guess. But there's no way to quantify that or test that. But basically, many years of usage, most likely at above 90 degrees Celsius. Okay, so 123 FPS, and we had before 137. Okay, so a 14 FPS dip. And now let's go ahead and try running this at 4K and seeing what kind of performance we're getting. Here we go. Let's see if we can run over, see if we can get over 60 FPS and 4K. Ziggy with the $5. Thanks for the Google laptop document. It helped me get my machine. Clicked links and got lucky at Newegg. Ooh, nice, dude. Congrats. And thanks for helping support the channel by using the links on the sheet. Appreciate it. Thermal degradation is a thing, sure, but they do design laptop components to run at those high temperatures for extended periods of time. So I think that's the main thing to keep in mind, is that when you compare, say, desktop components versus laptop components, um, and also how long I feel like people tend to use the desktop components for a longer period of time. I don't know. At least I tend to, at least. Um, but I don't know. I guess it just depends. But generally speaking, they definitely design laptop components to run at that um, the higher temperatures and to be perfectly safe. I don't know. I know that a lot of desktop users are really obsessive about trying to like keep their temperatures super, super low. And I think it'd be a really interesting study to be like, um, if you could get all the internal data from Intel of like how long can the CPU or GPU run at a certain temperature and then eventually die. Like that would be super interesting. Like how many years of just straight continuous workload can it handle? By the time it degrades, it will be obsolete anyways. Yeah, that's kind of the way I think about it, Jack. Is that by the time the CPU would have died from running at those higher temperatures, you will have likely already switched out your laptop to another one or sold your laptop because you now have bought another one, 6 years later or something. Brandon, I'll buy it for real. Please let me know. Okay, email me, Chris, if you really want to buy it, and we can try to work things out. Are you in the United States? That's probably an important part of that. D Racer 35 gaming on my water cooled 11900K and RTX 39 system right now, and it's under 50 to 50C on both. Yeah. Yep. Well, that's what you can do on desktops with the water cooling and giant fans, and you know we're fitting so much. You can only fit so much power inside of a little chassis, only 0.78 inches thick, like the X17's chassis. Almost think the other subcomponents would fail first. Yeah, well, oftentimes things like VRMs will fail before the CPU does. Um, so yeah, or like the monitor or the hinge on the laptop. There's a number of weaker points on a laptop that typically break before. Now, throughout that whole test, we've mostly been seeing close to 60 FPS or a little bit less, like 55 to 60 is what I was seeing pretty much most of the time. So I'm guessing we're going to get around there. Yeah, okay, so 58 FPS for our 4K test. That's pretty dang good. If you're trying to do 4K gaming, that's a good indicator that you're going to be able to do some good 4K gaming, at least in a slow game like this. It's going to be a great experience. That said, I would generally play a QHD just because I prefer to have the higher frame rates, and I don't see the visual difference. Like I can't visually tell the difference between QHD and 4K on a laptop display that's only 17 inches. Okay, well that was very interesting. We got our external monitor testing done. Get back into 3D Mark. MSI will make you pay shipping to fix your laptop during warranty. Mr. Appreciative, that's true for the vast majority of manufacturers. There's only a couple of them that will pay for shipping. And usually they'll only do it if you've paid for the upgraded warranty. Um, but it depends, because some will send a technician out to take care of the system, even if you don't have the expensive external warranty. But that's definitely one of the things I consider. Like let's say you pay for an external warranty from some retailer like Exotic PC or HID Evolution. I think that's an important factor to consider because, like, for example, HID Evolution's external warranty will do it'll pay for the fast shipping, and you can even, if you want to, I believe, pay for an international global warranty to where they even cover really, really expensive global shipping. Um, but that kind of warranty is also, I think, like $500 or $600. But so they make you pay a premium for it, but then you get your money's worth if you're sending a really expensive laptop and you want to have good shipping that's fast, and also you don't have to pay for it out of pocket after the fact, and as well as any repairs that need to be done on the machine as well. So combination. What's up, Jars? Um, 1 second, I'm getting a call here. Between the Alienware X17 and GP66 RTX 3070, which one do you think would be a better choice? Um, well, the GP66 will give you a lot better bang for your buck, I believe. Um, like you should be able to get an RTX 3080 GP66 for the same price as the 3070 X17. Now the performance difference between those is going to be, I think the GP66 would be a little faster because it has the mux switch, but if you're going to also compare apples to apples, you'd have Advanced Optimus with a 360 hertz display. The display will probably be a little better on the X17, and it's a 17-inch chassis. So that's actually would be a tough decision. I think it's like $2,400 versus $2,300 there between those two. Um, and that would be, I think both of those laptops would be really good for their own reasons. So my 2070 Super died in my MSI Leopard, and MSI sent it back unfixed because I installed a new SSD after owning it for 24 hours. Interesting, Mr. Appreciative. I I don't think that that's unless there, I believe the law there is that unless there's evidence of you messing up the laptop, then they're legally supposed to fix whatever thing went wrong with it if it's unrelated to anything you've done to the product. I believe that is the legal law surrounding warranties for tech products. Okay, Fire Strike. Okay, so we got 7531 for Port Royale. That is very high. I'm not sure exactly. Let's see what the Scar 15 got in Port Royale. Scar 15 got 7,062, so that's about 500 points more than the Scar 15. Very good score. Hold on, I'm getting a call. They keep calling over and over. Okay. So, have I tried undervolting the GPU with Afterburner? No, I've not. I think it's really interesting um, doing that on. I've done that on my Scar 15, and I did see a temperature drop while maintaining similar levels of performance. So, it'd probably be a good idea to do that. Does Optimus affect content creation performance? Dana Pink, I have not tried testing that, but I imagine it would in certain um, potentially in certain applications that are very GPU and CPU intensive, like DaVinci Resolve. Um, though I don't think it would affect it very much, very small percentage, if it does. Do you have any experience with Alienware defects? I would have gotten a Razer, but I keep hearing about QC issues. So the only issues I've had with my Area 51M was that some of the LEDs went out, like the Tron light stopped working. Well, it looks like we just crashed. I believe we don't have any OC, but we do have an undervolt. So it could be related to our undervolt being too high. I think it crashed once last time at this undervolt. So it's probably our undervolt that caused this. Let's go ahead and force it off. Will these laptops drive a 4K LG OLED external display for most AAA titles at greater than 60 FPS? Would like it to be a substitute for a PlayStation 5. So, Brendan, it will run it. at above 60 FPS it depends on which AAA title and on what settings you're setting it to. So if you want to run with RTX on Ultra, DLSS on say performance, it'll probably run like something like Cyberpunk at close to 60 FPS or higher. Um, so, but we'll get to the Cyberpunk testing, and I'll try doing 4K with RTX and DLSS. We'll get a better idea of the performance in that game. Okay, so for Intel undervolting, let's try dropping that undervolt a little lower, and we'll try running the 3D physics again, or 3D Mark Firestrike again. So set our core voltage offset to 0.7 and see if we get any crashes at 0.7. All right. Gotta exit all these extra applications that open. These days, 85C is average for a laptop. Yeah. Cyberpunk at 60 FPS. LMAO high hopes. It's the power of DLSS, honestly, because you're not really running at 4K. You're running it at, when you're running at, say, at 4K on performance mode, it's like upscaling from like 1080p to 4K approximately, or maybe a little less in between 1080p and 1440p, basically, and then upscaling to 4K. So it's not nearly as demanding as you might think. So best laptop for 1 to 1.2K with 100% sRGB screen. Ishan, I would say take a look at the HP Omen series. Those 144 hertz displays, I believe, are close to 100% sRGB with no ghosting on the display, like they're high quality displays. So that would be at least one of the laptops to consider. I believe the MSI and the Asus Tough Dash, those ones all have crappy or less than ideal, like only like 62 or 65% sRGB. I have the Asus Strix GTX 1650 and i7 9th gen. Guys, isn't 95 a bit high? I mean, really high. Um, so 95C is this is something we keep talking about a lot in the live streams, but 95C is pretty normal for a lot of gaming laptops, though I think it's not ideal. I definitely prefer to have a laptop and run a laptop below 90C so that I don't run into thermal throttling or any kind of performance issues related to thermal throttling. Because ideally I love hitting below 85, so that way there is a nice gap there to prevent thermal throttling, especially as the laptop ages if you don't monitor your performance constantly, like a lot of people don't. Best 17-inch gaming laptop for around 3,500. Um, so you should take a look at the Alienware X17, the GE76, the Clevo 170KM, the Zephyrus S17, potentially the Razer Blade Pro 17, though that's not the highest performance, just very high build quality. Um, it's still good performance, just not as good as these other laptops I'm mentioning. Best laptop for gaming and programming around $1,600. Probably like the Aorus 15G or 15P because you get a nice number pad and you need a number pad usually when you're programming. It's a good keyboard, good display, and reasonable TDP, especially with the Aorus 15P. I know the Aorus 15G does come with a MUX. Not sure about the 15P, so Did you have any issues with the CL24 RAM that comes with the X17? Flying Endeavor, not had any. I've not had any issues so far, and we just topped the charts on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is a memory-sensitive game. So 137 FPS at 1080p was really, really good. Uh, so I mean, so far the memory is doing quite well. We do have the XMP memory profile enabled in the BIOS as well, so something to keep in mind. Okay, so we're back into the combined test again. Let's see if we crash. This is the moment we crashed in the last run. Legion 5 2021 at B&H with an R7 and RTX 3060 versus Omen 15Z R5 and RTX 3060. Between those two, if they're the same price, I would go Legion 5 if they both are the same GPU. But just because I think I like the Legion lineup a little better because it also has a little higher TDP. So, Mr. Appreciative, make sure to like the video. Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, likes would be great. Helps the live stream. If you guys drop a like, it does help me as a creator. So I do appreciate it, but no pressure. All right, so 30,055. I believe this is the first laptop I broke 30,000 with on this test. I think. I don't remember for sure, but okay. Alrighty then. So we're on to Cinebench R20 once again. So right now we have a 0.7 undervolt on the CPU. So we'll do a run real quick with the undervolt. Also, let me go ahead and well, I'm just warming it up. This run doesn't really count. So we're just getting the CPU to the point where it's thermal throttling. All right, so let's just verify our undervolt is applied here. So right here it shows that we have a 0.7 undervolt. Shaboom, shaboom. All right, and we are thermal throttling already. Also, I mean, I didn't check this, but we should be in the same performance mode as last time. Full speed, high performance, cool. Just making sure. This text is going to be really small and really hard for you guys to see. Okay. Here we go. We are thermal throttling already. Interestingly enough, we're only at 95 degrees. Or sorry, 95 watts this time, and we're hitting thermal throttling at 95 watts. This is quite a bit lower than last time. Like last time, we were pushing closer to 105 watts, I believe. So I'm expecting we're going to have quite a bit lower scores as a result here. Also, our temperatures are very spicy at 100 degrees Celsius. This makes me think that it's in like so. One of the things is last time also we had a ring offset 5191 for our score there. Yeah, this is definitely a bit quite a bit less performance than last time. I wonder what the difference is. Like what changed since the live unboxing versus right now? I don't know. Chris Johnson, it's just gizmoslip at Gmail is all it is. 5195 again. All right. 5241. Okay, so we're not going to be thermal throttling anymore. Something else I want to point out, chat. Something else I want to point out is that we, when I lift the laptop, I can feel more air moving through the machine. So I'm pretty sure with a laptop cooler, like a cooling pad, or just raising the back of the laptop, you're going to see more airflow through the chassis. Um, Let me see what the internal temperature in my house is right now. I think we should be good. So 5291 that round. Very interesting. Hi there, nice to see you live stream. In a few days, I've decided what laptop to get. I tend to get the Area 51 because of the higher CPU. I do 3D with ZBrush and also make music, so not much gaming. Well, Ninja, I can say that you're going to get really great CPU performance out of this machine. Though we are getting less CPU performance this time around than compared to the last time, which is really interesting. Chat, what do you think? Is there any reasons? Does undervolting the CPU increase the TDP on the GPU in this model? I don't think that's going to affect things very much, Brendan. Maybe a little bit. Thermal issue, the longer you benchmark, less performance over time. So that's going to be true for systems that are thermally saturated. And as you can see, we've already reached thermal saturation fairly quickly. So it really doesn't take very long to thermally saturate some laptops. So it just depends. But yeah, I mean we've definitely reached thermal saturation at this point already. One of the cores in particular is heating up more than the other ones. So we're gonna go ahead and start recording our scores. So 5275. Get our 5 average scores here. You can see our clock speeds are 4.189. And before, when I tested during the previous live stream, we were hitting like right around 4.4 to 4.5 across all cores. So something definitely changed. Some kind of update happened, and one thing I'm noticing is the ring voltage offset is not applied. So I'm curious if that's a huge part of it. So 50, what was that? 51, 57? Let me make sure that's the right one. Danny Berry, we were heat soaked before when I was doing my previous testing. So I don't think heat soaking is at all the issue. It's like it's like the laptop is running less thermally efficient almost, you know? Because we were also running at a higher package power consistently last time. 5269. Um, Interesting. That last score was a bit lower, or the two scores ago is a bit of an outlier. If I want to future-proof, what configuration should I go with the X17? So I mean, basically, when it comes to gaming tech in general, I don't think future-proofing is really a thing in the sense. Well, I mean, you can basically future-proof a little bit longer, is all it is. Um, so one thing I can definitely recommend would be getting the XMP memory. And if you play CPU-bound games, get the advanced Optimus version, or use an external monitor with the laptop. 5303. How is the fan noise? It's it seems like it's gotten a little better sounding, honestly, compared to when I first got the laptop out, it felt like it had kind of a whistling higher pitch noise to it, and it doesn't seem like that anymore. Or maybe I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like I can hear it a little bit more, and other times, like if you like really try to listen in on it, you can kind of hear it. Um, but then when I'm not really thinking about it, it just seems kind of like a low whoosh. So I don't know. I think it's gonna bother some people and not others. 5279. So that one score that's lower, the 51, 57, I'm guessing that score is an outlier because of something else running in the background or something going on. So I'm just gonna do a couple extra runs just to make sure, but we're getting consistently right around 5270 to 5300, which I think is the more accurate score. After this run, I'm going to run Intel XTU or check Intel XTU again and just make sure, see if we can set, I'm not sure if we can set the ring voltage offset or not, if that's a separate thing, because this is new with Intel 11th Gen. And I know that that was set to undervolt last time. And I think that can affect performance significantly. So 5333 that time, 32, 5332. Okay, let's check Intel XTU. While I'm running Intel XTU instead of throttle stop, um, it's just easier to run. I've used throttle stop in the past as well. You know what might have changed is our In the BIOS, didn't we enable? In the BIOS, did we not enable like overclock mode or something? I wonder if that is what changed our performance. I don't know. Let's set this back down to no undervolt and run it a few times and see what kind of performance we get. Okay, so this is with a 0.7 undervolts. Can you put the microphone close to the fan? I don't think you're going to see that. My ambient temperature is right around 72 to 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Have you tried minus 0.15 mvolt? So I was encountering instability at 0.08. So that's going to vary though from CPU to CPU, because some will run stable 5207. Yeah, something definitely changed with performance, and I really want to narrow it down as to what happened. You know, like why are we getting such a significant lower score? Because we were hitting 5400 approximately stock, and then 5800 with an undervolt last time. Turning on OC in the BIOS is no different than doing it through Alienware Command Center. Oh, that is also true. I installed the Alienware OC controls after the live stream ended. Um, those Alienware OC controls may have changed some settings and might be reducing our performance for some reason, because that's definitely something that is very likely to have caused performance dip. 5108. Hmm. So this is with all stock, and yeah, there's definitely something funky going on in here, and I'm actually tempted to not even continue doing this because I need to figure out what's going on with the system, um, so that because right now these tests are basically going to be invalidated as soon as I figure out what's going on with the system and try to get the performance back to where it was. So I'll let this finish and then we'll switch over. RAM timings and speed on this. We can check the CPU user benchmark again. That'll give us our RAM speed at least. And then we could check Zen timing. So 5100. So 5100 exactly. Cinebench R20 stock. Okay. And then, yeah, we had such better performance last time. Let's try. Let's just try troubleshooting this. Alienware OC controls. Uninstall. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Alienware OC controls uninstalled. Is anything taking up my CPU right now? What is this? Microsoft compatibility telemetry using 10% of my CPU. The heck is this, Microsoft? Mhm. And that just disappeared. Now we're down to 1% CPU use. Was that like Microsoft updates going on in the background? What was that? Microsoft telemetry compatibility process. What is this? Can we figure out what it is? Using CPU. Microsoft compatibility telemetry is a Windows process designed to collect and send usage and performance data to Microsoft. So Microsoft is slowing down my computer while collecting data on me, I guess. Users find it causing high CPU or disk usage and then worry about it. It's a safety or debate whether it's worth disabling, and this report will cover all general questions. So, yeah, I mean, it looks like it's off now. Let's try running Cinebench R20 again. You guys are saying, wow, $4,000 pile of issues. But here's the thing, you'll run into these issues on any computer. Any Microsoft Windows computer could have that same problem. So you can't really say that that's. And in addition, I don't think that was the whole problem because, well, the real issue is our CPU package power was only like 94 watts. And look at that. Now we're at 106 watts. 104 watts. I uninstalled Alienware OC control. Let's see, maybe like we're going back down. We're going down now. I wonder if it's going to go down to 93 watts or not. 102 watts. I mean, our CPU utilization is not really much different. 99, 98 watts. So we're in the upper 90s now. This is not going to be any different of a score, I don't think, because this is still, yeah, 5169. Um, I'm gonna try restarting the machine. Hailskin says just run Cinebench in real-time priority through Task Manager. See, I don't test Cinebench that way on any machine, and I think it's an unfair test to try it that way because you'll always score better when running real-time priority in Cinebench. So yeah, let's make sure that we're running here. Let's go into here. Well, Hailskin, it's a matter of like anytime you run Cinebench in real-time priority, whether there's telemetry data going on or not, it's gonna have better performance because nothing is gonna be interrupting it. Um, it's not a fair test when all my past tests have been ran without any real-time priority settings because it definitely will score noticeably higher, you know? Okay. Um, okay. Let's try this again. We go again. 0.07 undervolt once again. high performance mode is enabled. Our fans are going full blast, even though the thermal thing here is not loading for some reason. I don't know why it's not loading. Maybe because the Alienware command, is it because the Alienware OC controls? Yeah, it says Alienware OC controls needs to download additional components. So I don't think it's going to let me change the fan profile until the OC controls are reinstalled, which is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of the Alienware Command Center. And the reason, so throttle stop is one of the potential conflicts with it. Let's just try running Cinebench real quick, seeing what happens now that we have OC controls uninstalled. But basically, you can't change the fan profile as long as the OC controls are not installed. At least that's the way it was on my Area 51M. And Alienware probably has good reasons for that, but it's still an annoying thing that you can't change the fan profile without OC controls being installed. So notice our idle temperatures right now are insanely good, like 30 degrees Celsius. I don't see anything taking up our CPU utilization. Let's see how long it takes for our CPU to heat up. We're running 109 watts of power. 109 watts of power. 4.45, so 4.49 gigahertz right now. So basically 4.5 gigahertz, which is the max all-core turbo set on the CPU. So basically maximum clock speed, rock solid, steady maximum clock speed. It's not dropped down, even though we're at 99 degrees Celsius right now. Okay, now it's 4.4, so, or 4.39, 4.49, 4.39. 5714. Alienware OC controls. Pretty sure that's what was holding us back. Pretty sure on that. Let's see if it can consistently score high again. But I'm pretty confident the Alienware OC controls was the cause of the performance degradation, which is something that Alienware needs to figure out. We're still over 100 and about 102 watts right now of power. 101, 100 and 0.9, 99.9, 100, 99.9. We are reaching thermal throttling on one CPU core. 5602. Oh yeah, much better performance again. Much better performance again. All we did was remove Alienware OC controls. Same undervolt. Alienware UC controls. Oh my god. No, there's definitely something going on with the Alienware OC controls that they need to figure out. Yeah. Notice that our ring voltage offset is still not there when it was there during the initial unboxing. But yeah, okay, we're already thermal saturated. We'll start counting these scores here. Let's see what we get, and we'll just keep so 5662. Let's see what we get with undervolt. Here, let me actually bring those scores back so I can compare. them. I don't want to delete them completely. Um, $57.02. Yeah, and I don't know if you're going to be able to prevent this from being installed because pretty sure it's going to be automatically installed. Will DLSS shrink the performance gap between the 3070 and 3080s? Um, Not necessarily shrink the performance gap. I would think it would actually slightly increase the performance gap. Looks like we... Did we encounter some instability here? It looks like Cinebench R20 crashed on us. But it's showing our CPU is still fully engaged. Okay, so 5672, that was weird. Probably running into undervolting issues again. What was that? 5672. So this may not be a perfectly stable undervolt either, even at 0.07. Pretty interesting. $56.95. It's almost like the Alienware OC controls makes the CPU run more inefficiently somehow. Don't know how that's possible, but that's how it appears on the surface because we were basically running at a lower CPU TDP with OC controls installed, which is really weird. And I hope Alienware figures out what's going on here, so they can. Maybe it's unsafe running it at this, and that's why the OC controls trim the CPU TDP down just a little bit. But it seems safe, at least on the surface. So 5715. Um, this is with a 0.07 undervolt. Okay. Super interesting results. Super interesting results. Um, okay. I don't want to spend forever on Cinebench R20. Let's get into some more games. Um, we'll do Cinebench R23 just because I think some people will want to see that, but I'll just do the fast mode, and I'll do we got to do single core and multi core, but we'll just do minimum test duration for both. Hold on. Hold on. We got to get HW info open. And I need to mark this as Cinebench R23. No OC controls. 0.07 undervolts. Yeah, with maximum fans, it does not take but like 20 seconds for a CPU to cool down. So Alienware Command Center uses an XTU backend. Yeah, and it can conflict with Intel XTU, which is why on my Area 51M I used throttle stop to set my undervolt. So that way, it just every time you load into Windows, it would set it. All right, Cinebench R20. We got 14,951. Let's go ahead and run single core. And see what that gets. Nightbot shutting you down there, Chris. LOL. Gizmo, would you consider showing comparison results to the X17 and GE76? Um, so the tricky part is I don't have the latest GE76. I had the GE76 I tested was the Intel 10th gen. So interesting. So right now you can see we're getting 4.99 gigahertz on one core. So we're basically getting 5 gigahertz across for just one core and our single core score test. It is dropping to 4.9 sometimes, or yeah, 4.89. So it's not staying perfectly at 5 gigahertz, but it's pretty close. Um, and we are not having thermal throttling at all right now, so that's good. Is Cinebench enough test for game stability? Good night, Britt. I would say Cinebench is a reasonable test for the vast majority of games, but certain very high demanding CPU games like Battlefield 5, it's probably not going to be a good enough test. And it's certainly not a good enough test for even tougher AVX workloads like Adobe Premiere. So I would advise to test some other games and items first as well before you say, oh yeah, 0.07 ran great in Cinebench. It'll run great permanently. Now, you probably want to do more testing. Definitely want to do more testing. Warlord says, I saw many buyers saying that the Asus ROG Strix G15 Advantage Edition dedicated GPU is becoming dead after several days use. Is this real? I'm very worried because I'm planning to buy one. Please answer. So, Warlord, the reviews that I saw indicated that the GPU died very quickly. Either it was dead on arrival, um, and the Reddit poll I saw indicated that about half of the users encountered issues to where they returned it, and then the other half of users had no problems at all. So my guess is that if you buy it, either you'll have no problems or it'll be great. And so just make sure that whatever you buy it, wherever you buy it, just buy it from a place that has a good return policy. But almost all of the major retailers like Newegg, Best Buy, Amazon, if there's any problems with the laptop, especially during the initial return period, you'll be able to return it no problem. And if you're concerned about long-term stability, um, I'm not sure that the problems they're having is indicative of long-term problems. I think it's just like, did they get a lemon from the factory? I believe is the current situation. Um, but yeah, I don't know for sure, right? So uh, I have not had any problems with my AMD Advantage Edition. I think I got one of the good ones, but I'll be doing a live stream benchmarking it soon, so we'll get a better idea if we run into any problems with that. But if you're concerned about it, I would recommend buying it from, as far as I know, I think Best Buy is the only place to buy it from. Just get their extended warranty, and they have such a good extended warranty from Best Buy that if you do run into any problems where the GPU just stops working after a year or whatever, or 6 months, um, or anytime within the period, they can get up to 3 to 4 years on their extended warranties. But anytime during that period, they'll just refund you the full amount or fully repair it back to new. Like if they can't repair it, then they just refund you. So, but yeah, so that, I mean, if you're concerned about it, like I typically tend to buy external warranties on products um, from Best Buy whenever I buy from Best Buy, if I plan on keeping that product for a really long time. Just because their black tie protection is really good because it's accidental coverage as well as regular repairs, and uh, and it's usually no deductible. So you don't have like a lot of warranty services. You pay $200, $300 up front, and then it's also a $50 or $100 deductible. Or and then you also have to pay for shipping or something. And both Best Buy, it's like in-person service. You drop it off. They handle all the shipping to the repair places, and then it's like no hassle. You just drop it off, come back in a week or two, and pick it up again, and you're done. It's really. I've had a great experience with Best Buy's warranty problem or warranty coverage. I've had 3 or 4 major electronics repaired, including cameras, an iPad, headphones. So yeah. Definitely recommend it from my experience. The high school scientist. I will be making a shorter and compressed video from from this. It's just um, I think people like being able to look at the live stream too, and it's like a nice record of all the tests. So I like doing both. And I am also in the process of hiring someone to help edit some of these live streams down into a more compressed format. Dell has better supporting service overall. I have heard really good things about Dell support, um, especially coming like they'll come to your home to do it. So this single core test takes a long time. How good is the cooling system on this laptop? So the thing about the cooling system on this laptop is they've tuned this laptop to run high performance, but also hot for the CPU. The GPU cooling is fantastic. It's really, really good cooling for the GPU. The CPU, um, the result of it is like even though it runs hot, you're getting really good CPU performance on this X17. So is question about that, is that in America or Canada as well? I am not sure how Best Buy is in Canada or Dell is in Canada. I haven't heard any reports on that. So 1607 for our sixth single core. That is definitely a new record. Wow. Okay. Single core test is snack time. Yeah. Right? Okay. Into some game. What's our top game? Warzone. Come to me, Warzone. Where are you, Warzone? Huh. Haha. We're gonna go for a restart. Go check Alienware official site. What is the max temp my laptop CPU should go to? Most laptop manufacturers either set it to 95 or 100 degrees Celsius for the last few years. I'm not sure which laptop you have though. Gizmo, are you a gamer? Oh, I'm a gamer. All right. I probably play over the last 4 years. I've probably played some type of game on my laptop, desktop, Oculus Quest, uh, or mobile phone at least 4 hours a day, minimum, I would guess. So yeah, I game. All right, I'm a gamer. Most of my gaming is done on PC, usually on a laptop. Um, I usually play competitive PvP games of some kind. So either usually first-person shooters, third-person shooters, or like an MMO like Black Desert Online. Those are my genres. Right now, I'm playing a ton of Black Desert Online, but I either play Warzone, Apex Legends, or Black Desert Online. Those are my three games that I've been playing a lot of. Okay, next. Let's see here. What is the next game? Warzone. Right, Warzone. I guess I gotta get BattleNet open first. Do I have a link for it on my? Okay, there it is. What? It's saying Warzone's not fully updated yet. It says it has 75 gigs to update. This downloaded all day yesterday. Was there a huge update, or maybe the update got canceled or something? I don't know. Would you also try World of Warships sometime? I don't play that game. I apologize. I got the M15 Ryzen R5 edition RTX 3060 for 1,200 with tax and shipping. Hey, that is actually a pretty good deal, I think. My Alienware X series is supposed to start production on the 9th, and I'm still waiting. Too bad, Harris. Okay, so poll. Let me know, chat. Do we wait for Warzone to download? That'll take at least 20 to 30 minutes. Or do we move on to the next game? I feel like I have to move on to the next game, but I'll take a poll and I'll just let you guys decide. We can hang out for a little while if you want, but the live stream will extend, and I'm already, I'm already. It's already midnight here. Tyke says next. Like I hate, I I hate skipping Warzone because it's such a popular game. But I think a lot of people would want us to just move on, just because, man, it sucks. This didn't install. Don't know why it didn't install. It's installing fairly quickly, but it would still take at least 15 to 20 minutes minimum because it says 71 gigs remaining now. All right, I see next 5 times in a row. Okay, we've decided. Move on to the next game. All right. I apologize to everyone that's watching the VOD. I will have Warzone performance in my review. So if you really want to see Warzone, you're gonna have to come back for my review or potentially a follow-up stream. I might do a follow-up stream benchmarking this because I don't know if we're gonna be able to get through all the benchmarks in today's video. There might be a part 2 to this live stream. CS:GO. Here we go. 2 a.m. in Colombia. 3 a.m. here. This is pretty late for a lot of people. Hey, I like both. Hey, I like both the Alienware M15 Ryzen Edition and ROG Strix G15, both in Ryzen 7 360. Which one did you recommend? I think the Strix G15 will have a higher TDP, but the Ryzen Alienware M15, it has the option to get advanced Optimus. So if you can, I would definitely recommend the Alienware M15 R5 with the advanced Optimus if you can get that. That's definitely a high priority, especially if you play CPU bound games. If you don't care about CPU bound games, then I don't know, I wouldn't really worry too much. Okay, we're just gonna do 1080. We're gonna start with 1080 at least. Everything is set to auto and high, full screen. All right. Here we go. Java Sosa says no. I guess it's one person that wanted to get the Warzone. Man, it's not, I swear I installed Warzone and I let it go all day and apparently it didn't finish. So, all right, let me see if I can get you the play-by-play. We are at 600, 700, 800 FPS. I see a 900. I see an 800. I see a 700. 800, 800, 700, 700, 800, 600, 500, 400, 400, 300, 400, like 450, 500, 500, 500, 500, 600, 700, 750, 700, 800, 200, 300, 200, 150, 120, 120, 150, 200, 300, 400. So you can see that in the smoke, you're still dipping your FPS quite a lot. Um, but dang, this i9 is just crushing this game like crazy. Um, big dip in the fog again, down to 120, 600, 600, 600, 600 still. That is very impressive. So we don't get Afterburner because this is CSGO. CSGO doesn't allow any overlays. 300, 400, 300. I'm expecting in the ballpark of 400 to 500 FPS in this test, maybe even above 500. Let's see what we get. This is going to set a new record for CSGO performance, I think. Oh, crap. We don't have... We do not have in-game console, developer console. There we go. And let's go back. $457.66. So 458. Very nice. 458. So I'm sure with an external monitor you'd be pushing over 500 probably. But I mean, who cares about 458 versus 500, right? 1440p. Here we go. Okay, I was like, it did not like that, but it turned out okay. That is really great performance for CSGO, especially considering it's a MUX. Sorry, so especially considering this does not have a MUX, this is really, really good performance. It's like 500 FPS right now. $450, 300 and something, 400 something, 300, 400. So we're at QHD resolution now. I don't think I'm going to do all my tests in QHD and Full HD, but I'll do a handful of them at both resolutions. And I'll do some of them at 4K as well. This is a game where you can definitely run at 4K still. All right, Gregory. Have a good one. Thank you for the benchmark and the list, etc. It's hard to shop for a laptop these days. Yeah, no problem. All right, well, this is still going to be excellent performance, even at QHD, probably still like above 300, 400. 334. 334.8, so 335. All right. On to the next game. Let's see here. Far Cry. Well, if I tried to go in order, if I went in order, Apex Legends would be next. um, but I'm kind of just doing stuff out of order, I guess. This time we'll go straight into Cyberpunk and get that taken care of. Guillermo says, "Hey guys, like the live stream, you think it's good content?" LOL. Is there really much difference between 200 FPS and 500? Not much. At that point, it's definitely more about your 1% lows. Because if your 1% lows are still really good at both, then you're gonna have a really hard time seeing the difference between those two. Okay, so we're gonna start out with 1080p. We're gonna set everything to ultra, and we're gonna set DLSS to quality. All right. Cool. RTX. So everything's on ultra. Everything's on max settings. Let's go to the benchmark section. Now, if you want to see some Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay, you can check out my live stream unboxing and testing because I did do some gameplay in a few different areas of Cyberpunk. So, all right, here we go. Hitting 71 FPS is a good start. Will this take a 360 hertz external monitor? Yeah, this will work with a 360 hertz external monitor through the HDMI, the DisplayPort, and I believe the USB-C DisplayPort, I believe, but not the Thunderbolt 4 DisplayPort, or not the Thunderbolt 4. So. With NVIDIA Optimus disabled through a mux, I think we'd get about 3 to 4 more FPS in this. Okay, so 69.55 for Cyberpunk at 1080. $69.55. All right, and next up, we're going to switch our resolution up to QHD. And then we go from quality down to balanced. All right, let's load up. Here we go. All right, here we are. QHD resolution, Cyberpunk 27 RTX on Ultra, DLSS set to balanced. Yep, got some really good temperatures. Also notice our TDP on the GPU is actually jumping up to above 150. At 1080p, we were not pulling as high a wattage, only like 130 to 140. Now we're actually pulling over 150, which is great. And notice that we're pulling above 150, even when the CPU is pulling a decent amount of wattage. 155 watts, 156. So that's a really good sign that we're able to pull that high of a wattage on the GPU, even when the CPU is that engaged. Oftentimes, if you're using more than 30 watts, it ends up dropping the GPU TDP all the way down into the base. And in this case, that would be 150 watts. But we're getting above that still. Okay, so 56 to 48. Cyberpunk 2077. What is it? 56 to 48. All right. And now we're going to run 4K. See how this thing does at 4K, and we're going to set it to performance mode for DLSS. And visually looking at the display, I can't tell a difference. Like it looks just as crisp at 1440p as it did at 4K. So again, I wouldn't really recommend running the game at this setting, just because QHD is gonna look pretty much just as good, but it's gonna get a lot less FPS, I would think, or at least noticeably less. We'll see. Does the Zephyrus G14 have good temps? Not sure if you tested it. Bill, you can check my review on that. The CPU gets very hot. The GPU is all right. Okay. So 37 FPS with RTX on Ultra. DLSS set to performance. Definitely would want higher FPS, I think, for this game. So that means either setting DLSS down to ultra performance, where you're going to start seeing quite a few visual jaggies, or just reducing the resolution down to 1440p, or reducing some of your other settings down to boost performance at 4K if you wanted to stay at 4K. Though, again, I wouldn't really recommend 4K unless you're playing on a much bigger monitor. This makes me disappointed they don't have a 1440p option for the X17. Yeah, well, you can just run the 4K screen you can run the 4K screen at QHD. That's what I plan on doing if I keep this laptop. I still haven't decided if I'm gonna keep the laptop or not. I'm debating. It's going back and forth in my head. Let's set to performance, balance, quality. Okay, 4K. We got what was it? 3733. Okay, and just to give you an idea of the performance when we drop the settings down on 4K down to ultra performance. Let's see what we get with that. Okay, so with ultra performance, look at that. 60 FPS, 57, 48. I'm making load back to where we were. But I mean, if that's the power of DLSS, because then you're really playing basically at 1080p upscaling We're using AI, but you're upscaling to 4K, so it's still going to look really good even with DLSS set to perform ultra performance. But here, like see right here, see these little jaggy things right here? This is what you get with ultra performance. Like these can be a little distracting depending on what environment you're in. Um, it's really like this aliasing kind of flashing thing going on that you get with DLSS on ultra performance. Sometimes on performance, but like we don't really see it anywhere right now in the current scene. But yeah, so this is 4K RTX on ultra, DLSS on ultra performance. Do you suggest this laptop for gaming and school use? Um, so around 56 FPS when you set it to ultra performance. I'm gonna go ahead and that's good enough for Cyberpunk. I think I gave everyone a good idea. Let's move on to the next game. Again, if you want to see more more gameplay with Cyberpunk 2077, I did go to a few different areas of the game world in my unboxing video. So graphic content. Do you suggest this gaming? Do you suggest this laptop for gaming and school use? Um, Primarily only if money is no object, because this is pretty much overkill unless you really, really need an ultra high performance machine. Like if money is no object, then I think this is certainly a contender for most powerful laptop that money can buy. How are the temps for the HP Omen 3060 Ryzen 7 5800H? Rogue Zero, I did not do my full testing on that yet. I just got overwhelmed with too many laptops, honestly. It's been hard to keep up with everything. But I did do an unboxing of that where I tested Cinebench and TimeSpy. So you can get a get an idea for the temps in that video. So just check my live stream history. What iPad do I use? I use a 11-inch iPad Pro from a couple years ago. X17 versus S17. I'm pretty sure the X17 is going to be more powerful, but I haven't done a deep dive on the S17. I think the S17 has a max TDP of 140 watts, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I need to look up more on that one. So I'm just going to say at this point I don't have the deets on there for you. Okay, that should be good. We're doing 1080p to start with. Here we go, Far Cry 5, 1080p. This is going to be another good memory test for us to see what kind of performance we're getting with 1080p, because this is a memory and CPU sensitive, as well as seeing how much NVIDIA Optimus is going to impact performance, because this is also sensitive to having a mux switch versus having NVIDIA Optimus bottleneck us a little bit, at least at 1080p. But hey, we're hitting 140 FPS right now. That's pretty dang good considering this does not have a mux switch. But you can definitely see we're being CPU bound because our GPU utilization is dropping down below 80%. This is also a game that notoriously pushes CPU temps pretty high. All right. So we had 122 FPS at 1080p. 122 FPS for Far Cry 5. All right, and let's go to 1440p. Well, that all looks good. Let's test it out. If you decide to return this laptop, which laptop would you pick? Well, I might end if I return this laptop, I would probably end up keeping my Scar 15. The other laptop I would be considering would probably be getting an RTX 3060 Legion 7. But that's really not that much of a difference from the Scar 15, so I'm kind of like, it wouldn't be that much of a, it wouldn't be a performance jump really in any way. Whereas this machine is definitely a performance improvement on the CPU performance and the GPU performance, a higher TDP GPU. And the screen on this machine is noticeably better. So one of the areas where this machine is definitely weaker than the Scar 15 is the keyboard backlight does not light up the secondary symbols, which I found pretty annoying. Like the @ symbols or like the screen brightness buttons. So like last night I was using the laptop typing out my review thoughts on it, and it was like I was trying to dim the screen and I couldn't find the which secondary key is the dim button. That's the kind of thing you'll learn over time. It's like, oh, that's the F10 key. Um, but it took a little bit to find it. So average FPS was 103 at QHD. And this is a game, let's do a quick test in 4K as well. The other thing that is noticeably better on the Scar 15 is the speakers. This did not scale properly when we switched to 4K. Let's try setting our native resolution to 4K. And then let's try. This might be a problem. This has to do, so this problem with Far Cry 5 has to do with Windows scaling, not scaling the size of the how you say, not scaling the size of the game components properly with the size of what's supposed to be displayed. I've seen this on my Razer Blade Pro 17, which is also a 4K display. So it doesn't happen with very many games, but games like Far Cry 5 where they change the menu size based on what resolution you're in, sometimes have problems with it. And it comes down to being a Windows issue, not a problem with the laptop. But it's a problem you'll encounter with this laptop, but it needs to be fixed on a Windows-based level because it doesn't scale the resolution of the game properly. Okay, so it did it that time, and then because we're running 4K native resolution on Windows. Okay, and you can also bypass it by when you run the application, you can right-click the icon that you launch Far Cry 5 with and change your DPI scaling in your um, application launch settings, and that'll also fix it if you wanted to have native Windows resolution be 1440p QHD, and then actually play the game at 4K, and you want it to not have that scaling issue. So it's possible to do it. You just have to go into the launch settings and disable the Windows DPI scaling, basically to fix it. Chris Johnson, something. Chris Johnson had a question. Someone's trying to answer. Okay, so right now we're at 4K resolution, and this thing is doing really well. We're easily above 60 FPS, averaging 65. So you'd definitely be able to play this game at 4K. So 65 FPS at 4K. Very nice. Now, obviously, being able to run the game at higher frame rates, you could, if you wanted to, you could keep it at 4K and um, run it at a higher frame rate, utilizing um, what am I trying to say? By lower, you could boost the FPS by lowering some of the settings instead of running everything on ultra. Like we're running at max settings and everything, and at 4K. But like I said, ultimately, I would primarily game at QHD on this machine if it was me. Which laptop has the best speakers in a 17-inch laptop? Well, the best speakers, period, would be a MacBook Pro. Um, really great speakers. For laptops, I know that have really great speakers would be the Asus Strix Scar series. And honestly, the Zephyrus series have pretty decent speakers as well. The Strix series are also good, but they're not like as good as the Scar series. The Scar series literally have like extra speaker units. I think they have like 4 or 6 speakers in them. Um, some of the MSI laptops have had good speakers, but it just depends. Uh, Generally speaking, Clevo laptops have terrible speakers, some of the worst. Red Dead Redemption is not scaling properly right now with Windows. So it looks like there's a okay. I biggie sized it and it seems to be at least a little better. So it's not quite 4K. Let's go to full screen. Whoa. Yes, I guess. That is actually the settings I wanted. Let's try 4K Red Dead Redemption. VSync we want off. Buffering. I'd like to disable it, but it's not a big deal if it ends up staying on. Cool. All right, we're going to set everything on this white bar to the far to the right for ultra settings. And then we want to run with Vulkan. Confirm. Cool, cool, cool. All right, let's restart the game now. So just to make sure all the settings took, and then we'll run the benchmark. Any chance you could run Tarkov? It's not really a benchmark game, but I'm curious. So during these benchmark segments, I can't really do random different games because it takes a long time to install games. And I already have pre-installed all the games that I'm doing the live bench that I'm benchmarking, if that makes sense. So I can't do any random ones. Uh, Chat, just went to the top. Any chance you could test Tarkov? It's not really a benchmark game, but I'm curious. Oh, sorry, yes. Dude, your new Alienware was bent. Oh my God, like the chassis? What are you talking about? Are you talking about someone else? Okay. Question, are you using the external monitor to play or same on laptop? I am using an internal monitor display to test right now, but I did test Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Time Spy on an external monitor, and we got over 13,000 with Time Spy with an external monitor with a slight overclock. Um, and it was like 12,000 on the internal monitor, 12,534 on an external monitor, and 13,091 for an external monitor with an overclock. So really, really great scores overall. Uh, okay, so here we are, 4K, ultra settings with Vulkan. Let's see what happens. We have not done Fortnite yet. Don't worry about it. Thanks for the great content. Yeah, no problem, Graphic. From these 4, which is the holy grail? Rank them. X17, Legion 7, GE76, or S17. So, um, hmm. I believe the X17, Legion 7, and GE76 are all going to be in the same ballpark of GPU performance because they have the same TDP or similar, but 150 base TDP for a 3070 or for a 3080. I mean, sorry, so it's probably hard to follow with me saying all these different things. Okay, so just pointing out real quick, 4K resolution, Our temperatures are very good, but we're not fully saturated yet or anything like that. But just pointing out the temperatures 58, 55. They're not heating up very quickly. 153 watts to the GPU, so we're pushing above 150 watts, which is good. That's a really good sign. Yeah. Now, we'll have to see what it gets in the main sections, but so far, 40s and 50s in this game are actually pretty playable because Red Dead Redemption is kind of a slower pace game with not too many twitch movements, I guess. And it's really more about storytelling for this game rather than like, super high paced gameplay. Okay. In regards to ranking the X17, Legion 7, and GE76, I would say the X17 is going to be the #1 CPU performance, where the Legion 7 and GE76 and the X17 really will have the best GPU performance as long as there's a Mux switch or Advanced Optimus on the X17. And so where the S17 I believe does not have as high a TDP, so not really in the same category. Now the X17 I think will have the best CPU performance with the i9 out of those for both gaming and for CPU tasks, but you're paying a really hefty premium for that slight increase in CPU performance. So I think the Legion 7 is probably your best bang for the buck, or really, if you want the best bang for the buck, go with the Legion 5 Pro, because it'll be similar levels of performance, but cheaper price tag. At least between those laptops. Just me, only me. Oh, you had a bent Alienware chassis? That sucks, man. Okay, so Xander Code. Have you heard about the M15R5 getting a BIOS update that enabled it to have a Mux switch after initially not having one? Same was done for the G15. Do you think the same thing could be done on the X17? It's possible if the hardware is there. We'll have to see. Which game is being tested? This is Red Dead Redemption. Looks like I was up a little bit in the chat, so sorry about that. But bro, how much TDP does the Scar 153070 have? It's 115 to 130 watts. Um, so right now we are running um, Red Dead Redemption 2 at 4K resolution with max settings on everything. 4K. So we'll have to see what the FPS is like, but this is certainly playable right now at 45. But I definitely prefer 60-ish in this game, 60-ish or higher, to have like an optimal experience. So if you're going to play at 4K, I would say you're probably going to want to reduce at least some of the settings, like anti-aliasing or maybe some of the shadows or something. But like I said, I would play this at QHD resolution if I was playing it. Unless maybe I was playing it on my external TV, which is actually how I played Red Dead Redemption. I played it on I played it using my 4K TV hooked up with an HDMI to my SCAR. Actually, to my desktop in that situation because I have my 4K TV hooked up to my desktop with a long HDMI cable. Okay, so we end the test here every time. Let's go ahead and see what we got. Oh, hey, I got a super chat. Just me, only me, with a $20 super chat. Thanks so much. I did. Did you say anything in the super chat, or did you just give it? Oh, well, thank you so much for the super chat. Okay, so it looks like 44.56, so 45 FPS for Red Dead Redemption 2 at 4K. Red Dead Redemption 2, 4K, 45 FPS. Very nice. Not quite what like I said, not quite what I would say is playable or ideal frame rate. What? No. I wish it would not try to change the resolution until I'm actually at a resolution I want it to go to. What a weird way to switch resolutions. Windows scaling is so janky. We're at full screen, but it is not full screen right now. This is where if you run it at drop our Windows resolution down to 1440p and run it full screen. I guess we have to restart the game from scratch if we want to do that. All right, let's restart the game. 3 hours. I'm back, by the way. Nice, Riverball. Welcome back to the stream. I screwed up asking the question with Super Chat. Okay, let's see the question. Will you be doing a second review, updated review on the ROG Strix G15 Advanced Edition? So I will be doing I still will be doing a review on that, yes. That is definitely one I'll be doing a detailed review of. Um, I'll be doing a live performance, live benchmarks, live stream of it, and a detailed review coming up. Is this a laptop best for gaming? It's a really, really good gaming laptop, yes. Without a doubt. We're getting some really incredible performance. Um, it's just being it's really just getting slightly less performance than we would be getting though if we had a Mux switch. So that's Mux switch or Advanced Optimus. So that's the only downside to it, I think, when you compare it with the competition that includes a Mux switch. So, but we'll see. Like, but we'll see. Like, well, I say, but we'll see in the sense that I want to see exactly how much of a performance hit we're losing, especially at QHD. Like I did the external monitor test, and we got 100 FPS on the internal display and 108 FPS with the external display. So that's an 8% performance hit at QHD, basically, which I think most people would have a hard time noticing, but it definitely feels a little sad, I guess, that they, it feels a little sad that we don't have that option, considering how expensive the laptop is and how some of the competition, like the GE76, has that. So, like purists and enthusiasts um, who are likely to buy this laptop should be aware of that as a drawback. Um, but this laptop has advantages over the GE76, primarily in the CPU performance category, because of the crazy heat pipe setups and the dual shared heat pipes that we get on this laptop. So, what is a mux switch? Do a exclamation mark mux if you want to watch my video explaining mux switch. But basically, a mux switch will allow the laptop to have improved CPU bound game performance, which will primarily affect 1080p performance gaming. Price of this laptop is 3,800 approximately. Tyke with the $5 super chat. Thanks so much. When you test Apex, can you please do 1080p low with an external display? I want to see how it will perform with a mux like on the 360 hertz advanced Optimus version. I see, I see. That that is possible. Remind me when I'm doing Apex. Yeah, you want to see what it's like with and without. I got you. I'm not sure how sensitive. Sorry, I was hitting the camera. I'm not sure how sensitive Apex Legends is to having a mux or not. Um, I know games like Fortnite and Warzone and CS:GO are definitely sensitive to a degree. I think with Apex Legends, it would just depend on what area of the map you're in. So in a rough scale, is an RTX 3060 like 40% worse than a 3080? I don't know. That's a hard thing to measure. Um, I think at 1080p, the 3060 versus 3080 debate will be heavily dependent upon what game you're playing. Because, for example, CPU-bound games, um, you may not see much of a difference between a 3060 and a 3080 when you're CPU-bound, you know? Because then it'll be much more dependent on whether you have a mux and what CPU you have and what kind of performance and TDP that has. Um, and then when you play GPU-bound games like Red Dead Redemption and Cyberpunk, um, games that are heavily GPU-bound will really benefit a lot from the 3080. And then if you go to higher resolutions like QHD and 4K, that's where an RTX 3070 and 3080 will definitely help boost performance much more noticeably. Tekken, I don't think I'll be able to do arenas just because I need to be able to I need to be able to test quickly. And you should, what I'm going to do, what I typically do for Apex is I load into the training zone. I test on all low settings, then I test all high settings, and then I switch everything back to low and I load into a map. I don't know, man. For 4 stacks, this thing should slap in all areas. Yeah, Chris, and that's the thing that makes me like at least feel a little bit mixed about recommending it. Uh, is because of the really steep price. The really steep price mixed with um, the lack of a mux. Like, but again, 4K display, who's going to drop it down to 1080p? You're at most going to drop it down to QHD, where a mux is not as important. But still, the performance would be better if it had it. So it's like, you know, it's just like it's definitely one of those mixed things that makes me a little bit sad, but definitely going to be a deal breaker for some people and make them switch to a different computer. Um, okay, so 66 FPS at 1440p. Um, looks like Red Dead closed on us for some reason. Are OLEDs in laptops worth it? Is the 60 hertz that noticeable? It would definitely. I could never buy an OLED 60 hertz because I'm a competitive FPS gamer. So I would want to play at least at 120 hertz is my minimum. Um, that said, if you're not a competitive FPS gamer, I think an OLED is a viable option. So, like if you just do casual gaming and you don't mind having a bit, a lower refresh rate, then I think OLED's a good option if you really value the color gamut and brightness of an OLED. So River Brawl, if you've got a 1080p display on that M17 R4, then an RTX 3060 will be very good, very good. But if you plan on doing QHD or 4K, then that's where I really recommend going to 3070 or 3080. Okay, last test for this game, going down to 1080p. It's fine. We'll run it at the slightly in-screen view. Why Intel CPU use 78 or 80% while gaming? I'm not sure why you're asking that, Rufian. I think it depends on what game you're playing and how CPU or GPU bound it is, how many threads it uses. Why would they disable at launch to hurt reviews though? Well, Mr. Appreciative, I think it has to do with them not realizing that users want it, if that is the case. So we'll have to see. What do you think of the rumored super cards coming to laptops in January? Um, every time, I mean, it's pretty easily predictable pattern from NVIDIA. They do the regular versions, then they do the super versions for laptops, and then they do that for desktops. They do the regular versions, then they do the TI versions, or maybe the super versions. Um, and what am I trying to say? Typically speaking, super versions are usually like a 10 to 15% performance boost. Um, so, I mean, it's not the kind of thing I would say like, yeah, definitely hold out for that. Especially not at this point when there's still rumors and they're still, 6, 7 months away. But I mean, that's just an easily predictable pattern. About every year, NVIDIA drops a new card or a new sub-generational card gap, you know? Technology will always be moving forward. That's the way it works. Does CPU matter a lot in gaming? Yeah, it just depends on the game. Very CPU bound games really benefit from having a great CPU. What's my overall thoughts on the X17? Is it going to be your personal laptop? Uh, Kawasar, I have not decided yet. Um, it's for me, like making up my mind on a laptop, I really need to get all of the benchmark numbers in, load them into my comparison graphs, do my detailed comparisons, and then I can make a more informed decision. So, and in particular for me, I need to play the games that I love playing and seeing how it performs in the games I love to play, like Apex Legends, Warzone, and Black Desert Online. I did play some Black Desert Online already on the laptop, and it ran pretty well. But I haven't done any side-by-side comparisons with the Scar series. But I think for me, the main difference between this and my Scar 15 is the price being more for this, the CPU performance definitely being better in this than my Scar 15, the GPU performance definitely being better in this. But the thing is, I feel like this laptop may be not quite as good of a laptop. Like the Scar 15 is lighter, has better battery life, has uh, better keyboard backlight, and I feel like I think I slightly like the keyboard layout a little better on the Scar 15. And also the battery life on the Scar 15 will be better, based on my initial impressions and testing. Like the Scar 15, I can run that thing in my lap, and it's cool in my lap. It runs really well in my lap for like casual stuff. And more importantly, the speakers, like I do listen to music while writing out my reviews sometimes or working on the spreadsheet. Um, and I think the speakers are quite a bit better on the Scar 15. So that's like all of those factors, like actually using it as a laptop feels a little better on the Scar 15. Whereas if I were to be using this as a mixture of desktop and laptop, the Alienware X17 definitely would be much more attractive to me. Okay, so what do we get? 80.1. very good performance as well in 1080p too. Now, let me see what my previous top full HD is. So 81. So my previous best Red Dead Redemption test was dun dun dun. Maybe if I can find it. 81. Hmm. Okay. So yeah, so that ties. My Scar 15 also got 81. Um, so that ties the for the best 1080p gaming performance at least. Interestingly enough, the TDP increase did not give us much increase to performance. Okay. Best laptop screen I've seen so far. Is it the M16 Legion 7 or the X17? Definitely the X17. It's brighter and has better color gamut than the Legion 7, or similar levels of brightness. Um, that said, for competitive gaming, the 15-inch QHD 240 hertz might be a little better for the competitive side of things. All right, what game do we want to do next? We've already done Shadow of the Tomb Raider, so Rainbow Six Siege. Here we go. Santiago Flores says, I've actually been looking at this laptop for about a week. Would you say the X17 is worth buying? So Santiago, sorry, I messed up your name first. Santiago, I would say if money is no object, this laptop is looking extremely promising. It's putting up some great benchmark numbers. Um, the main downside is that because we don't have a mux switch, you're losing a bit of CPU-bound gaming performance. Not a massive hit, um, and especially since it's a 120 hertz display, I don't think it's going to be that much of a deal breaker for most people. Um, but if you're a very CPU bound game player, then I would just in general recommend getting the 360 hertz with advanced Optimus anyway, and then you don't have to worry about that. That's not a downside at all anymore. So I think it's one of those it's one of those things like, for example, take a game like Rainbow Six Siege, right? This game should hit more than 120 FPS, probably even at 4K. So it's like, does NVIDIA Optimus even matter if you're already hitting above the screen's highest refresh rate at the highest resolution? Like, I don't know. I don't think it matters that much. Um, but purists that might be trying to be super purists might be like, hey, no mucks, no mucks, no bucks, you know. So, and if that's your philosophy, I can understand because maybe in a handful of situations, you might still get a slight benefit. But in that situation, if you're in a no mucks, no bucks category, then I would say, like, again, just get the Advanced Optimus version of this laptop to where Advanced Optimus is even better than a mux. So yeah, that's kind of my take on the laptop so far. Really, really great CPU performance. Very high temperatures, which is kind of a downside, but you can rein those in a little bit if you want to, and power limit it a little bit. So you can kind of tune this to be how you want it to be, which is a great thing. All right, so we run this game on Ultra. We want to make sure our render scaling is set to 100, and then we want so we're not going to worry about 1080p, or we're not going to worry about 1080p, but we will do QHD and 4K for this game. Full screen, QHD. Do. Cool. Looking good. Do you have a Discord server? Yes. It is linked in the video description down below if you want to check it out. There's a bunch of tech junkies on there and discussing laptops regularly. Also just fans of my channels in general. So Ivy asks, do you recommend Razer Blade laptops? I recommend Razer Blade laptops to people who prefer a premium build quality over raw performance. Um, if you're the kind of person that wants to get the most possible performance per dollar, don't get a Razer Blade laptop. But if you're someone that's like, I want the nicest quality experience in my hand that money can buy, that's who should buy a Razer Blade laptop. And like you're willing to sacrifice 10 to 25% performance to get that premium build quality. And also you're going to pay, you know, $500 to $1,000 more for that premium build quality as well. So, and there's certainly a crowd of people out there that will love to have a Razer. And I think people just know you when I said those things just now, you instantly went, yes, that's me, or you instantly went, no, that's not me. Okay, so QHD, we got 217 FPS in Rainbow Six Siege. Let's run this sucker at 4K. $217. All right. Make sure nothing changed over here. It all looks good, I think. Cool. Have I reviewed the Razer Blade 14? I have not yet reviewed that, but I have watched a couple different reviews on the Razer Blade 14, and I gotta say, it looks really promising. Really promising. Um, I think the Razer Blade 14 has some really good CPU performance paired with some really good GPU performance for its size. And then um, it's just a very expensive laptop. So um, in terms of like if you want the most performance for its size, the Razer Blade 14 is actually one of the few Razers versus like the Razer Blade 14 is actually one of the Razer Blade laptops that's actually tuned to be like the best performance for its size that you can get pretty much. Um, but if you're willing to go just a little bit bigger, like get a 15-inch laptop that weighs like another pound more and is another 0.2 inches thick, then thicker, then you're going to get noticeably more performance. Like you go from a Razer Blade 14 to say like a Zephyrus G15 or say you could get a Zephyrus G15 with a RTX 3080 for $2,000 for the same price as like that's like less than a 3070 version. Okay, so we got 116 FPS at 4K. Very good. Not quite 120, but almost. You could probably drop one setting and hit the target hit the target frame rate of 120 in this game. We'll just run it at 1080. This is a quick one to benchmark, so we'll just go ahead. Um, so, and it's not that I'm ignoring anyone. Jao Sosa says the Warzone update must be done by now. It's time to Warzone. So I can't let it download while I'm benchmarking other games because it would impact performance. So I can't. The Warzone has not been updating or anything in the background. Sorry. Um, is it true that the M16 3060 outperforms the 3070 G15 in games? Todoroki, that might only be true for CPU bound games, not GPU bound games, I don't think. Um, so at least as far as I know, because I don't think the M16 is a super high TDP or anything. So yeah, I don't think so. Santiago says, I've honestly been a PC player. I was always a console person, but I want to switch to PC, but don't got room for a desktop, so a laptop is the only option at the moment. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of reasons to get a laptop. I think laptops are in a really good spot right now. Really great performance. Okay, Mr. Appreciative asks, the i7 versus i9 is probably like a 1 to 3 FPS difference, right, Gizmo? Um, so I'd say it depends on the game. Games like CS:GO, it's probably more like a 30 to 40 FPS difference. I don't know, hard to say without actually measuring it. Um, but it's just going to heavily depend on what game you're talking. So 289 FPS, obviously insanely good performance, uh, well above the screen refresh rate at 1080p. Witcher 3 is our last. We're not going to do Flight Simulator, I don't think, tonight because we're pushing really long stream this time. The M16 3070 seems to be the most balanced laptop. Um, I don't know about being the most balanced laptop, but it's certainly, I think, a bit better than the 3060 if you're going to play at QHD resolutions at least. Santiago says, I've been hearing from friends that Alienware is the only brand and not worth the is only a brand name and not worth the money, so that's why I've been looking, but I like how the X17 looks. So Santiago, I think it's definitely very important not to just look at the looks of a laptop, but I think when you look at gaming laptops, I think your first priority should always be performance. That's my opinion, at least. So it looks like we're running into Windows scaling issues again. See if I can get it to switch to full screen mode. There we go. Um, okay. So for this game, we do Ultra, except Hairworks is off. All right, so here we go. Will you test the different RAM modules with the X17, like Crucial or Corsair CL20? So flying, I have some CL22. Um, I think, is it Crucial? I know, I think it's G Skill. That's what I have in my Scar 15. I'm not sure if it's compatible with this laptop or not. Um, Probably is if I run it at 3200 instead of 3466. So we'll have to see. But I'm at least probably going to test that RAM kit with the laptop. Not in this video though. Okay, so I'm not actually doing the test yet. I'm just running around here to the front to load everything in, then run back. Cool. Okay, and here we go. So chat, this requires me to manually run this, so I can't really look at chat while I'm doing this test. I'll try to answer your questions here in a moment. Very nice. 151 FPS so far. So even though this doesn't have a mux, I think we're still getting really good CPU-bound game performance. I mean, this is very GPU-bound right now. 99% usage with 15% CPU usage. So this is a game where a mux will likely not make much of a difference at all. Just a small difference. So 149, 111 for Witcher 3. $149, $111. Okay, and I'd like to test this in 1440p as well. I think I'm going to skip 4K on this game. Which gaming laptop do I think has the best thermals and the 15-inch chassis? probably one of the Asus laptops with liquid metal or one of the other laptops with liquid metal. But Asus has done a really great job with lots of different, lots of heat pipes with dual CPU, dual shared heat pipes between the CPU and GPU, and it's just really great all around performance, I think. Okay, and they have really good temperatures usually with good fan noise profiles. And I also really like the Legion 7's thermals. It was also quite good. But that's a 16-inch laptop. You asked for 15-inch, so. Okay, so here we are, QHD resolution. Let's see what we get. Our 30 series super GPUs coming to laptops. People were saying uh, January was the rumors for that. I don't know. I haven't looked at the rumors yet, so I haven't made my own mind up on that. Okay. So 116-102 for QHD. Yeah, so this is another example of a game that would play extremely well at QHD, basically maxing the frame rate. Okay. It's Apex Legends time. Apex Legends, Fortnite, and Watch Dogs Legion. Oh, and then Valorant. So four more games left. Getting close. Okay. So R30 series super GPUs coming to laptops. Like I said, probably like usually, typically speaking, super series comes out like a year after, but it just varies. Origin, connecting to Origin. Okay, so can you estimate the difference in performance between this and the Legion 7? I would say the CPU performance on this will be noticeably better than the Legion 7. GPU performance will be pretty similar. The weird part between the two is the fact that Legion 7 has a mux switch and this, for example, does not. The display on this is definitely better than the Legion 7, but they're very close. And this is 16 by 9, Legion 7 16 by 10, so that might make a difference too. Um, I like the Windows Hello on this. Um, I like the keyboard better on the Legion 7. You have the numpad, and the keys just feel a little better feel to me. Um, Battery life will probably be pretty similar. I don't know. There's a lot of similarities between the two. I think the price on the Legion 7 will likely be a little better. And I think why is it still downloading Apex Legends? I know for a fact it's fully downloaded. Yikes. Um, I don't know how to turn on GPU 2 6800 on the Advanced Edition ROG Strix G15. Have you checked the Armory Crate? Just me, only me? Armory Crate, you might have GPU only mode or something. Oh, it looks like it's doing a repair on Apex Legends. Why is it repairing? It's not even going. It's at 0% speed. Okay. Well, hmm. I am nearing the end of my energy for this live stream. I might need to do a follow-up live stream with these X17, and I can do on the follow-up live stream. I could do Apex Legends, Warzone, Valorant, Watch Dogs Legions, and Fortnite in that second live stream. Because if this is going to also be required to download, and it's not even, for some reason, it's not even going. Let me try restarting Origin. But hooking up to the external monitor really delayed the live stream. I think it was necessary to see the performance difference. But that really delayed the live stream and prevented me from getting to these games quickly enough. And then the fact that Warzone and now Apex Legends are needing to be re-downloaded makes me want to just do a second live stream to finish out the second half of the games. Have I tested the M15 R6 Intel version? No, I've not. Do I think an eGPU is worth it to increase performance? If you've got an older GPU with an RTX 2000 series or older, it probably is. 3000 is probably not. Don't forget the guy's request. Yeah, we've got the. He wants me to turn on an external monitor, but at this rate, I'm not going to be able to test on anything if it's not downloading. It's not even making any progress. Does anyone pay RRP on Alienware though? I'm not sure you've seen me play RRP. I'm not sure what RRP is. So you guys are saying the Acer Triton SE. I think you gotta keep in mind which one you're talking about. There's a big thick one and there's a really thin one. The thin one is very low TDP, and the thick one is like super high TDP. So it depends on which Acer you're talking about. I think you guys are talking about different ones. And Acer has good thermals on certain laptops. It just depends on the laptop. Always get a discount when you can't to a sales rep. I think you're saying RRP being retail pricing. Okay. It's weird that nobody's talking about the mini LED 1000 nits 16 by 10 coming out from Acer to make IPS screens seem useless. So the thing is that 1000 nits display high refresh rate with a good response time? Because if it's not, then it's pretty much useless to me because I can't use it. Um, Not sure why. I might have to reinstall Origin or something here, or delete Apex Legends and reinstall it because Apex Legends is not. It's not. It's not going. How do I? I can't even uninstall the game. Oh, looks like it's installing from scratch at this point. Okay. Yeah, that's not gonna work, y'all. Um, okay, so what this tells me is I should do a follow-up live stream. I've got to do it's 165 hertz Sonic. Okay, then that makes me pretty excited, Sonic 21. Um, I think I'm really looking forward to checking it out for sure. I think that could be really cool. An LED screen, 1000 nits. I'd love to see the color gamut on it. I'd love to check it out in person, honestly. That said, this display I'm looking at right here is 500 nits, and it's insane. It's as bright as I would ever want, really. Obviously, brighter is always better, depending on the circumstances you're in, because you go to outdoors, 1,000 nits is really useful. Um, yeah, so we're gonna need to. I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here, guys. My overall. Let me just quickly do a conclusion. Conclusion of the first impressions. CPU. So for our actual game benchmarks, we had some really great performance at QHD and 4K. Slightly less performance than we would get if we had a Mux or Advanced Optimus, but it's a small impact at the high resolutions. Um, Obviously, there's still plenty enough performance to be happy with the performance. But for people that are trying to get the maximum performance, that's where having a Mux Switch or Advanced Optimus can really give you that edge to push you to be the top performance. The other option, of course, is using an external monitor. It's obviously an option for any laptop. So if you plan on using an external monitor, you don't even have to worry about that anyway. Um, Another thing to keep in mind with that is that we have 120 hertz refresh rate. We've repeated this over quite a bit, but I just want to make sure that's in the conclusion. Uh, Most esports games will be able to hit the 120 hertz refresh rate at QHD or 1080p, no problem at all. So I think the bigger issue is going to be the 1080p 165 hertz display. If you can't hit 165 frames per second at a 1080p resolution, say in a game like Warzone, that's where you'll definitely notice the FPS difference more. Um, what else? I'd say the CPU, the CPU rendering performance is really, really good on this laptop. The best I've seen so far. So if you're after a laptop that has crazy CPU performance, that's relatively thin, still fairly light, this is a very compelling laptop for that reason specifically. The keyboard and touchpad on this laptop seem awesome. The design of this laptop seems really great. We've got Windows Hello, we've got a webcam. Um, Leaves me feeling like I can still overall recommend this laptop, uh, but not for purists. Like there will be a group of people out there that just like without a Mux or Advanced Optimus, the laptop is trash. And I can understand why someone would say that. Um, but at the same time, I disagree. It's not trash. It's just not quite optimal, is the way I would describe it. And I think for people that prefer the CPU performance, um, this still provides a uniquely compelling argument to buy this machine. Um, but it's a heavy price tag to pay, given that you're getting kind of a little bit of a mixed package. You're paying that super high premium price tag, and you're not getting the purest performance. It definitely leaves a slightly sour taste in your mouth, I think. When is the next stream? Not sure. After these live streams, my voice usually goes out like it's already like it's gone basically. I'm talking really quiet because my voice is gone. I usually have to have a day to recuperate because I basically talk for like 4 hours every time I live stream. Um, I'd be able to live stream every day if I didn't talk the whole time. But because I talk I usually it'll probably be 2 days from now when I do a follow-up stream to this. That's kind of my goal for right now is to live stream every other day. Um, we'll see. That's my goal. So, okay, Mitchell, I'm not canceling the X17 order. The trackpad alone is awesome. Yeah, the trackpad alone is a super unique and interesting feature for this machine. Um, Super cool. And I can show you that real quick. Yeah. Look at that trackpad. Super cool. So, I mean, this is a unique feature to this laptop exclusively. I wish you could set the timer so it would last like a minute in between it fading, but not that big a deal. But basically, it goes away after about 15 seconds of not touching it. Okay, so that's my conclusion. My continuing knowledge of this laptop as it grows. Certainly getting some really great performance out of here. Uh, If the lack of a mux is a deal breaker for you, either use an external monitor or get a different laptop. But other than that, crazy good CPU performance, still really great GPU performance. Um, I think the vast majority of people will be super happy to have this laptop in their backpack and pull it out and play games on it. I mean, what else am I going to say? Like, you're going to get slightly more performance in certain titles with something like the GE76, but in other tasks, you're going to get more performance with this one. So it's kind of a trade-off, back and forth. Um, that's it for the live stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thanks so much for all the support and the super chats and all the comments. And thanks for staying super positive today. I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Brendan out. Peace.